50,000 procedures. They know when RLE is right for you. K2 Vision RLE. No glasses, no contacts, no readers. Plus, no more cataracts. Don't miss the free live webinar this Thursday at noon. Register at K2VisionRLE.com. K2VisionRLE.com. That's K2VisionRLE.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Check out the Puyallup Tribe's Firecracker Alley's new location at 3509 72nd Street East in Tacoma. Stock up now for your 4th and enjoy great food at Firecracker Alley. 3509 72nd Street East in Tacoma. Open now through July 4th.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump stands by his assertion that U.S. warplanes obliterated nuclear targets in Iran.
It's blown up. To kingdom come.
An early U.S. intelligence readout indicated Iran's nuclear program was only set back by several months.
President Trump says U.N. inspectors heading to the nuclear facilities just struck by those U.S. airstrikes are backing up his insistence that the strikes did devastate Iran's nuclear capability.
Numerous of them are getting to see the site, and the site has been demolished.
Dismissing reports about that leaked intel report as fake news. Vicki Barker, CBS News, London.
Lawmakers in Iran began an effort today to suspend cooperation with UN inspectors. Trump said with an Iran ceasefire with Israel holding, U.S. officials will talk next week with the Iranians. Trump spoke after the NATO summit. CBS's Ed O'Keefe reports members agreed to spend more on the alliance.
Other member nations needed to up their spending to start matching the GDP levels of the United States. And so ultimately now the goal is to have everyone spend about 5% of their GDP in the next 10 years on a combination of troops and tanks and weaponry, but also the roads and bridges and seaports needed.
President Trump, who pushed for that spending increase, says Spain will pay on trade for resisting the spending hike. One more day of extreme heat in much of the East today. It hit a record for June of 101 yesterday in Boston.
It was terrible. It was terrible. It really was.
Jeanette and David were among the many who couldn't escape the triple-digit temperatures, which broke records on Tuesday.
That's what they said in, history or, however long they've been documenting things like that. It was a scorcher.
We're sweating, you know what I mean? Everybody's getting aggravated with each other. Fights are starting.
Out here, the heat can take its toll on the most vulnerable, like Ollie.
You know, our bodies deteriorate quicker than most people because we don't have the correct nutrition.
James Rojas for CBS News, Boston.
Former Vice President Mike Pence is commending the January 6th attacker who refused a pardon from President Trump, as we hear from CBS's Michael Wallace.
Pamela Hemphill posted on social media a letter from Pence. In it, he expresses his admiration for her decision to refuse the pardon and accept responsibility for her actions. Hemphill pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor for her role in the attack on the Capitol. She says everyone there was guilty, and Trump's pardons just contribute to the lies and propaganda.
The Trump administration has found California's Department of Education and State High School Sports Federation violated civil rights law by allowing transgender girls to compete on girls' sports teams. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Making graffiti vandals pay. The story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. No major blocking problems right now. Your travel times are still significant, but not unusual for this time of day. Everett to Seattle, 38 minutes. Federal Way to Seattle, an hour and 5. Renton to Bellevue, 46. Olympia to Tacoma, about half an hour. And we're still waiting for your lake bridges to clear out. Traffic brought to you by FlySeaportAir.com. Introducing convenient flights between Boeing Field and Portland on Seaport Airlines. Visit FlySeaportAir.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. We now know that a man died by suicide during a gun battle with Seattle police and that he had a criminal past. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey says police had responded to a domestic violence call near Madison Park Friday.
Body cam video shows 53-year-old Daniel Jolliffe fire at officers from a second-floor window of the victim's apartment. One officer fired back.
Drop the gun! It's the Seattle police!
Autopsy results say hours later, Jolliffe shot himself in the head. In 1993, Jolliffe was sentenced to 27 years in prison for killing 2 men during an alley fight in Pioneer Square. The woman Jolliffe shot last Friday is recovering. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
A man is recovering after a violent stabbing in Seattle's First Hill neighborhood. Seattle police say the victim was outside a gas station on Terry Avenue when a woman stabbed him in the chest during an argument last night. Officers arrested her. The Seattle City Attorney is asking the City Council to hit graffiti vandals with higher fines. Ann Davison telling the Public Safety Committee.
The civil fine amount would be $1,000 per violation, plus a restitution for labor and material costs to abate the damage.
She says if offenders can't pay up, they could do community service to scrub and paint over graffiti instead. The Public Safety Committee will consider the measure again in a couple of weeks. King County is suing a group of Issaquah homeowners accused of hacking down trees on public property to improve their view. KIRO 7 TV's Madeline Audley explains.
Kaylin McNulty and her neighbors reported it. Now King County is suing, seeking millions from a group of homeowners on top of the hill and the people they may have hired, claiming they illegally cut down or damaged more than 140 trees on public land.
These are shared resources. It's not something that can be rebuilt easily. Like all of those trees took hundreds of years to grow.
The county says it could take generations to restore.
The county seeking $7 million in damages. The homeowners did not respond to requests for comment. Washington State is going to take in about $720 million less than it needs to over the next 4 years. That's according to the latest quarterly revenue forecast, which blames tariffs and a slowdown in both the state and U.S. economies. Critics note Washington is bringing in more tax money than ever, but lawmakers are spending it faster. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy skies today with highs in the upper 60s. It's 59 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Welcome, 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 and thank you so much for joining us here on the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. You probably predicted that given how he sounded so sniffly yesterday.
I was listening to the show, Ursula, and I just said, I have a feeling I might get a phone call. I hope yes. I never want that for Gee. I wanted him to feel better, but yes. I suspected that could happen.
Yes, and I did just text him a second ago, and he did say he's feeling a lot better. He just slept for 12 hours straight. So, Gee, if you're listening right now, we're glad you are resting. You need rest, and we hope you're feeling better soon.
And can I just say this? I came in and the microphone, we have these screens on the microphones. They're all covered with sanitizer wipes.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sanitizer stuff everywhere.
So funny.
Okay, she's not just filling arenas. Caitlin Clark is filling young girls with ambition. And coming up at 9:30, we're going to talk about the Caitlin Clark effect in Seattle. She was here last night. We'll talk about that, how she is changing Seattle's next generation of female athletes. So a lot to talk about coming up at 9:30. We're also going to try something a little bit different later in the show today. Sophia's here, and I tasked her with, hey, Sophia, come up with a way that we can get more folks to check out something we do on YouTube. So we're going to have, later in the show, we're going to do a agree to disagree topic, and one of our topics is going to require folks to watch a video that you're going to be seeing and
I have
listening
not
to
seen it
for
and
the first time.
I've had to resist.
Yes.
I can't wait for that.
Yes, so we'll let you know. As always, you are invited to join us on our text line, 888-973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. And with that, let's get to our top stories brought to you by Bathfitter Northwest. Okay, you know this is going to be a story that I want to do because it's about graffiti. Seattle may soon start suing graffiti taggers for the cost of cleaning up their damage. City Attorney Ann Davison has proposed new legislation that would allow her office to pursue civil lawsuits against prolific taggers on top of any criminal charges.
We would be focusing on the most prolific taggers that we have been able to identify, so that's not a large number. They do a lot of damage.
Each graffiti violation could come with a $1,000 fine. Taggers would also be required to pay for the cost of cleaning it all up. Deputy City Attorney Scott Lindsay told City Council members that police have already identified the top 20 repeat offenders.
Our experience is that many of these folks actually have jobs, they have resources, they have cars and condos and other things. They do this in part for building a social media reputation.
Okay, it's important to point out, too, graffiti cleanup has cost Seattle at least $6 million just last year alone. That does not include what business owners and property managers are spending out of pocket. And business leaders like Erin Goodman with the Soto Business Improvement Area support this plan. She tells KOMO 4 News.
There is this mindset of it's somebody else's problem. And so what I like about this ordinance is like, no, we're going to show you that this is actually going to be your problem.
What do you think?
What I think is Seattle City Council, this is a test. Don't screw it up. Do not screw this up. This is a no-brainer. This will get you a win. And so just to clarify, so this is a proposal being put to the council by Ann Davidson, the city attorney.
Yes.
So now this is in the council's hands.
Yes.
I mean, we have a new council, newer.
Yes.
And this is one that I think so many people would like to get behind. This is not the time to play soft. And we have to take a hard stance. We need to clean this place up.
Now, you sound like you maybe feel about graffiti like I do, because I get teased about how I feel so passionately about graffiti and how much I hate it.
Why is that? I'm trying to understand why anyone would tease you for it. Help me understand.
They think, okay, in the grand scheme of things, and I get it. We've got big problems, but I don't think it's art. I mean, you are Banksy when you're scribbling this crud everywhere, and I think it makes the city look dirty. And when the city, if not just the city, every overpass, signs, just along the freeways, and I think when you're driving through it, you just feel like, ooh, this is a place that doesn't take care of itself.
Yeah. And, I don't know if I shared this with you, but over Christmas, I welcomed family members, and one of them lives in Florida, and he's in the car, and he's so sweet. And he's like, oh, boy, yeah, it's
there's a lot of graffiti.
It doesn't look good. And, okay, and not to get woo-woo on you all, but I am a big believer in that your environment can just shape behavior. And if you allow that stuff to proliferate,
I agree.
Then people think they can act any kind of way when they come to you. It's like if you come to my house, or if let's say you go in my car and it's a hot mess, you probably wouldn't feel bad about leaving something on the floor, spilling a drink. But if it looks clean, you think, okay, I need to behave a little bit better.
Yes.
And here's the thing. I hate to say this, but we do have the World Cup coming up. So there are high hopes that this will get passed. I would like to think it would get passed no matter what.
Agree.
Yeah, especially these people. Okay, one of these dudes, 41 years old, out here trying to get social media fame doing graffiti. Really,
right.
Guy?
The fact that they own their own condos, they have their cars, and they're out there like, hey,
I'm thinking these are like kids.
Yeah, exactly. Nope.
Dude.
Okay, and I'm sure that, and there's also the, in some cases, some of those taggers, they get street cred. Oh my gosh, because I talked to some taggers. I did a feature on this years back, and I talked to someone in the midst of tagging, and I said, what is the deal? And this was someone who had a job. This was someone who was in their 30s. And he said, yeah, we've got this kind of underground community too, that it's really admirable if we can do it and people look at it and go, oh my God, how did that person get up there?
What does Gee always say?
Yeah.
It's for the gram.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, for the gram.
Exactly. Well, we're both in support of this. Love to hear what you all think. 888-973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. Washington lawmakers got the bad news. Apparently they were expecting, but it's even worse than they had hoped. The state is now projecting a $720 million budget shortfall over the next 4 years, and that is after the governor and the legislature approved a record-setting $78 billion budget, which also included, Angela, and we've reported on this, more than $4 billion in new and higher taxes just last month. So what has happened? Revenues are going down. Shoppers are holding back, real estate changing. And according to the governor, a lot of this, too, is he blames on federal policies with the Trump administration threatening deep cuts to programs like Medicaid and food assistance. So state lawmakers are bracing for a double hit. And the governor also pointed out the tariffs, which in a trade-dependent state like Washington, that is affecting people's bottom line, is what he's saying. So
yeah. No, it's very simple. It's like tariffs go up, or the cost of doing business goes up. People spend less. So it's basic math here, and that if people aren't spending, then the state isn't getting that revenue. And I mean, that's just what it is. And so here we are in a state that is so dependent on sales taxes, and meanwhile you could have $1 billion and just be saving it and hoarding it. Maybe you're not spending as much, but we're not getting any piece of that pie because we don't have the income tax. But
yeah, well, and I want to know, I mean, like, at what point do we say, okay, we've got to consider it? I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
I know we need to. What is it? That dog won't hunt. That bird won't fly. I don't know what it is. But one other thing I want to point out, and I would love to hear from you if you are seeing this in your community. The number is 888-973-5476. I've lived in my neighborhood for 5 years, Ursula, and I saw something that I have not seen. Obviously the pandemic, different times.
Sure.
But let's say since the pandemic, I have not seen this. Businesses closing early because of staff shortages.
Oh, I've seen that too.
And meanwhile, they're not hiring. So, and my daughter was saying this because, she's home from college. So she's talking to classmates, people, and what they're experiencing. And so the coffee shop that's normally open till 7, they're like closing early due to staff shortage, but then they're not hiring either. And so they've done the calculation if people, because I frankly have cut down on going to get the beverage because it's not a necessity. So do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So all that revenue would normally go to the state, right? If they're in business.
But here's the catch for me.
Okay.
And I said it as we were talking about the budget going in, and I know it's really boring, but this is something that affects all of us. And how we have basically Democrats holding all parts of Olympia, essentially. So, and I think that the Republicans in Olympia have merit in what they're saying, that in part, this crisis is made by some of the decisions that have been made in Olympia. I mean, given, we are living in uncertain times, and still we've, just pushed through the largest budget in state history, and that also relied on a lot of new taxes at a time when people are hurting. Mm-hmm. Well, when that happens in your house, what do? I mean,
right, we have to cut back. So
cut back on your spending.
And if you don't have this right now, because my intent is not to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious. If you do feel like we're spending too much, where do you feel like we're spending too much? Because in other words, I'd want to know, what do we cut? We know that some nonprofits had their budgets cut from the state. So, and if you don't know, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to figure out where.
There's one thing, and this wouldn't be a huge cut, but I want to ask. I mean, it's what we all have to do. You have to go through every part of your budget within every agency, and the governor had asked each department to do that. Now, I know, and this is something that I bring up quite often, one of the things that was untouched, because they've got a very strong union, is labor and state workers, many of whom are still working hybrid jobs, many of whom are still working part-time from home. Mm-hmm. And I know I have an axe. It sounds like I have an axe to grind about people who are still.
It does. Well,
but it's just being realistic. Are you getting? They talked about furloughs for a while.
It was taking one day every 2 months or something
exactly.
like that.
So
Yeah.
looking at, the reality of this, when we are dealing with tougher times here at KIRO, what happens?
I've taken those cuts, those furlough days. Yeah,
exactly.
Here,
but one of the biggest expenditures is your labor. So you are going to look at that. But that was untouched this time around. I mean, and that would just be one thing. I mean, it would just be, we can't always rely on taxpayers to keep footing the bill and keep saying, well, we're just going to increase the taxes.
Totally. And I'll say, because I haven't gone through the budget line by line, I don't see where I don't have wasteful spending to call out, but I do know there are times when we look at our budget and we think, we don't have much else to cut that wouldn't really hurt people. I need to get a second job. And so sometimes you do, or maybe we need to reimagine how the structure is working. And I think in Washington, our system is just broken. Here's the deal. I am not a proponent of Washington going in and grabbing more income tax unless they lower the sales tax. Like for me, it would have to be in exchange. We're going to lower this and we're going to implement this. And unless they're done at the same time, I wouldn't be for it.
And the biggest thing is that people don't trust that if we brought in a state income tax, that the other taxes would be lowered or would go away. It would just be in addition to. And I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people besides the argument about the Constitution. Okay, speaking of money, though, it is official. Cle Elum is broke. And then now the town's bankrupt. This is, okay, in case you don't know, John Curley lives in Cle Elum. This is the small town east of Snoqualmie Pass.
We should have an exclusive.
I know.
Where's our exclusive, John? Okay, go ahead.
Well, they filed for Chapter 9 bankruptcy this week because they can't pay off a staggering $26 million debt that is tied to a failed housing development. So this 950 home project called Adara was in this years-long legal fight with basically with the city. So the developer is City Heights Holdings. And an arbitrator ruled last fall that Cle Elum violated its contract by dragging out permits, putting up roadblocks, and hit the city with damages, legal fees, and 12% annual interest. So for perspective, Cle Elum has 2,300 residents, including John Curley, not even 30 employees, and a $5 million general fund. So the mayor, Matthew Lund, says the city is now insolvent. They can no longer operate while trying to fend off garnishments from the developer's lender. So the council voted on Monday to file for bankruptcy. And now Cle Elum is only the second city in Washington history to declare bankruptcy.
This is rare. Okay, this is juicy. This is really, so, okay, I don't mean to, I know this is not Real Housewives. This is not good that you haven't. So let me just establish that. But as I understand it, the city entered this agreement with the developer. The developer is like, we're going to build nearly 1,000 homes.
Yes.
And then according to this arbitrator, they said that Cle Elum breached, quote, its duties of good faith and fair dealing by violating an agreement that pledged cooperation with this developer. Instead of abiding by the deal, this judge found the city slow-walked permits, attempted to throw up new obstacles, and they got hit with, $22 million in fees. And keep in mind, the budget's like a fraction of that, so they don't have it. So it seems this was all preventable, and someone didn't want new development, and now you've put your city in bankruptcy. And apparently, unlike personal bankruptcies, I don't think this can be wiped out. They've got to come up with a payment plan, and it gets even better. I decided to do a little digging and found out there's actually a GoFundMe.
Stop. To save the town of Cle Elum?
No, it's to change Cle Elum's form of government PAC. Oh. And it has hit its fundraising goal of $4,500. And because right now they have a mayor council, so it's a very political position. You're elected. But if they get the city manager one, the city council would hire a manager who, it's not a political position. The idea is that you manage. So to me, that's the tell. Yeah. Because in the GoFundMe, they brought up this bankruptcy. And so they want to switch to a city manager kind of government, and the GoFundMe is going to help them with the legal process. So this is small town.
It is, but can you imagine? I mean, we're talking one development dispute, which, think about it. I mean, how many beautiful small towns are there in the state of Washington? And Cle Elum is gorgeous. I mean, it's not just the place where I go to get gas before we get to Leavenworth.
Right.
It is gorgeous. But like one of these big developments and this dispute now has caused it to go bankrupt.
Yeah, it's like you cut your nose off to spite your face.
That's just crazy.
And make it. If any of y'all live there, we'd love to get
Yeah,
more
I
of the
know. We
tea.
need to get John Curley. Okay, coming up, Caitlin Clark was in Seattle. Seattle Storm went against her team. We'll tell you about that. But we want to expand the conversation because she's really having an effect on women's sports and really opening the eyes for young girls when it comes to sports and what you can achieve. So we'll talk about that coming up next here on the Gee and Ursula Show.
KIRO News Radio, the Northwest's trusted news source.
Get the latest from KIRO News Radio's James Lynch.
It happened Wednesday morning just after 6 o'clock.
Experienced voices you trust.
Several people hurt after a violent Saturday in Pierce County.
Coverage you depend on.
More from KIRO News Radio's Matt Markovich.
It's as close to a veto warning as you could possibly get.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Want to cut your home energy bills, breathe cleaner air, and improve comfort? The answer, AeroSeal from Home Comfort Alliance. This advanced process seals leaks in your ductwork, improving efficiency and air quality. Normally $2,500. Right now, for PSC customers, get AeroSeal for as little as $99 when they install a furnace or heat pump. Plus, save up to 25% on remaining 2024 heat pumps and air conditioners from Home Comfort Alliance. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year in Washington state. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients. Join us at Life in Color, a brunch auction and fashion show on August 17th at the Columbia Collective in Woodinville for an unforgettable afternoon celebrating 25 years of hope and support. Get your tickets now for Life in Color on August 17th at nwhopeandhealing.org. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
Our first Mark Challenge victory is Aaron McCoy from McCoy Home Solutions, yet another small business owner that took the First Mark Insurance Challenge. Aaron, what was the initiative to make that call?
I've got something worth preserving for the sake of the people that I serve and my family. So it's important to me.
What did you learn through the process?
The experience with First Mark has been highly professional, informative individuals that have helped me from personal to professional insurance, life insurance, policies, coverage, cyberspace. Things that I was afraid to approach were pretty easily approachable.
How would you say their customer service has been, Aaron?
Absolutely 10 out of 10. I just couldn't say anything higher about First Mark. They've executed very well on as many levels as I could rate them.
So if you're a small business owner that wants to take the stress of insurance off your plate, do what Aaron McCoy did for McCoy Home Solutions. Make the call to First Mark Insurance. They're your teammate that goes to work for you. FirstMarkInsurance.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gordon Christensen, and if you're a dentist as I am, or you know a dentist, please take a moment to listen. When I became a dentist, I learned how quickly poor oral health can lead to other serious health problems. And for people without access to care, these problems can spiral very quickly. I wanted to help, but I wasn't sure how I could until I joined Dental Lifeline Network. It's a nonprofit that has helped us literally change the lives of people in our communities. DLN asks dentists to volunteer to see just one of the many patients in need in your area. It's very simple. DLN screens those in need and coordinates an initial appointment that takes place in the comfort of the dentist's own office and on their schedule. Right now, there's a wait list for patients in need in your community. community, I'm asking fellow dentists who will join me in seeing one patient per year.
Learn more about Dental Lifeline Network at willyouseeone.org. That's willyouseeone.org.
AAA asked me if I would change my name from Sir Mix-a-Lot to Sir Mix-a-Lot. I said, why would I do that? They said, you're more than just a rapper. You're a car collector. You're a businessman. You're an inventor. Just like AAA is more than just towing. They have awesome travel advisors and insurance agents. And they got 3 A's in their name. Maybe I should change my name. Give me 3 A's. Mix, A, mix, A. When I say mix, give me 3 A's. Mix, A.
Wait, if I work today, why should I have to wait 2 weeks to get my money? With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Available in select states. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
For more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has given you the opportunity to build your next success. Choose from more than 135 degree and certificate programs in career-relevant fields like business, healthcare, data analytics, cybersecurity, and more. Plus, we offer 100% online and hybrid courses, personalized advising, and lifetime career services. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Hey guys, it's Keith Ashafy from Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington, and we are not done celebrating 100 years of industry leadership. For a limited time, get $100 off every window, $100 off every door, or choose 60 months of 0% financing with no interest and equal payments. That's right, 100 years strong, and we're giving you more ways to save on the Pella difference. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaPNW.com. Thank you again for letting us serve you in the Northwest.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. Seattle's ICE field director is weighing in for the first time on reports of a growing arrest quota.
The widely reported quota from Homeland Security to increase arrest totals to 3,000 a day, a directive shared between 25 field offices across the U.S. In Seattle, ICE field director Kamala Wamsley says it's not a quota, rather a daily arrest goal, one that sometimes goes unmet.
It's between 30 and 50. It depends on what we're doing that day and how our teams are broken down. It's an aspirational goal.
Agents are efforting the largest deportation push in America's history, one of the president's campaign promises. Gwen Baumgartner, KIRO News Radio.
Fear over immigration raids has prompted organizers to cancel the popular Duwamish River Festival in Seattle this August. That's according to social media posts. The event takes place in South Park, a neighborhood with many Latino and immigrant families. A Seattle man is stuck in Israel as the conflict between the country and in Iran unfolds. KIRO 7 TV's Jake Chapman spoke to him.
Randy Kessler of Seattle shares with me what he's gone through the past few days.
You just go down to the bottom floor. You see all your neighbors at 2:45 in the morning in their pajamas, tired, and there's a radio on. And in my case, those ballistic missiles almost entirely went over my head towards the more populated civilian areas of Israel.
And in order to get back home, he has to cross from Israel's southern border into Egypt.
And he hopes to be back in Seattle before the weekend. President Trump is doubling down on his assertion that U.S. airstrikes destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities.
We blew it up. It's blown up. To kingdom come.
A U.S. intelligence report suggests Iran's nuclear program has only been set back by a few months. Trump spoke today in the Netherlands, where he says NATO members have agreed to contribute 5% of their country's GDPs to the security alliance. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte.
This is a significant commitment in response to significant threats to our security.
But some countries say they will struggle to pay. Here in Washington state, a warning about costly courier scams.
King County Prosecutor Patrick Hines says the scam has been devastating.
We're talking about losses to victims of over $7 million.
The scammers are tricking victims into withdrawing large sums of cash and handing it over to a courier to pick up for safekeeping. Hines recommends if you get a text or email from someone you don't recognize, don't click on any links, don't reply, and if you are victimized, report it to police. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
On Wall Street, the Dow is down 75 points. NASDAQ is up 44. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk in Bothell, a disabled vehicle is blocking a lane on I-405 southbound near State Route 527. You are slow through Canyon Park. Northbound 405 is slow through Renton. Travel time Renton to Bellevue, 49 minutes right now. That's 7 longer than usual. Other travel times about what we'd expect. Everett to Seattle, 42 minutes. Federal Way to Seattle, an hour. Olympia to Tacoma, half an hour. Traffic brought to you by ProSculpt, the one-day permanent fat loss and skin tightening solution for men and women, offered by New Skin Med Spa in Bellevue. ProSculpt.com. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy today with highs in the upper 60s. It's 59 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Gee is out today. He is sick. Angela Poe Russell is in. And if you weren't there, we're going to tell you what happened at Climate Pledge, because last night the Seattle Storm saw one of the largest crowds in the home arena's history. More than 18,000 fans packing Climate Pledge for the team's face-off against the Indiana Fever. Turnout, of course, was not just for the Storm. This is part of the Caitlin Clark effect. I mean, dun, dun, dun. So she may just be a rookie, but she has totally changed the game for the WNBA. I mean, think about it. Just think of whether it's the merchandise, just the fact that I just saw this statistic that she is responsible for nearly 26% of all WNBA economic activity last season.
Oh, protect her at all costs.
Yeah, right. So unfortunately, Fever beat Seattle Storm 94-86, but it was a sellout. And tickets that usually go for $20 or $30, apparently some were going for hundreds. And
thousands.
Then floor seats were covering like anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000.
Yeah. No, I emceed an event a couple of months ago, and the hot item was tickets to this particular game, the one with Caitlin Clark. And people were bidding. They were really excited to have that opportunity.
So for people who aren't really tracking, what she's all about, she is the NCAA's leading all-time scorer. She broke the record for the most 30-point games by anyone, man or woman, in D1 in the past 25 seasons while playing for the University of Iowa. And, again, so WNBA is just seeing a huge number of new fans.
Yes.
Because of her. And I don't know if you're watching, but one of her teammates, because teams and players from other teams try to take her out. And they're, ultra aggressive when it comes to Caitlin, because they just want to basically stop her from running up.
She's a vicious shooter. I mean, she's a three-point queen, so you got to go after her as they wouldn't, anyone who's really good, you're going to try to stop them, as Caitlin would do to them too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of her teammates in a recent game, and I don't follow it that closely, but I did see this because it was all over social media, all over TikTok. Sophie Cunningham. Now, she's also become a household name because she's defended. I mean, and she was like, don't you dare touch my teammate. And so she was just going at it to the point where people were like, sadly, that got a lot more fans too, because okay, this is not just a sleepy game. I mean, they get down.
Oh yeah,
and dirty.
That happens all the time. And I think Caitlin, with more people watching Caitlin, they think it's this isolated thing, and it's kind of how it goes. And I don't know, for me, I've been a Storm fan for a while and a WNBA fan, mainly because my daughter has been so into it. And there was already this momentum. There was already this energy. And it's like Caitlin came and she has just, catapulted it to the top.
Well, and I hope it continues. And like I said, because the Storm, how many championships do they have? I mean, so many championships. And the fact that up until maybe recently, they haven't been selling out each and every time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be watching this season for the first time.
Oh, you're going to have so much.
It is because one of our listeners has so graciously invited me to join her.
That is so great.
I know, so I'm going to go.
Listen, you are going to love the Storm games. That's why I get frustrated when people are like, oh, we don't have Oklahoma, and my God. And I'm like, we have a great, really come check out it live. Is just a great. Have you been, Sophia, to a Storm game yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we have to go. They're so much fun.
Well, Como 4 spoke to some fans at the game last night, talking about Caitlin Clark.
These Seattle women's basketball fans will tell you they have Caitlin Clark fever.
We're here to support Caitlin and the Seattle Storm, which is kind of tough, but we're here to support both.
I look up to her so much, and I just want to be like her someday.
These Storm season ticket holders emphasize their excitement that their team and the second-year star for Indiana keep attracting new fans of the league.
I've been a basketball fan for 20 years, mostly NBA, but transitioning and getting into the WNBA as well now.
And it's not just the attendance at these games, but basketball camps are seeing huge increases in numbers of girls who want to attend basketball camps now.
You know what I think is so interesting about Caitlin? There are a couple of things. Even already, the tech, just us talking about her, people are fired up and texting in on a variety of things. But it's not just her talent. Like her talent, absolutely. She has no doubt broken records. She has done amazing things. And so many people see themselves in her. Sometimes you'll have stars, right? And you just feel like they're unrelatable, like they're freakishly tall, or I don't know. I mean, they just... It's the whole marketability factor.
Yes.
And you look at Caitlin, and she looks like, for some girls, they look at her and like, oh, I could do that. And Caitlin has acknowledged that is part of a privilege that she has, and she's earned all the things. So it's almost like you have this, and this is in marketing in general, just period, across the board. You have someone who's very marketable, girl next door, meets amazing talent, and it's magic. And it's no more than that. It just is what it is. She's got the talent to back up all these things.
Yes.
And may I add something that's very notable about Caitlin? She was a multi-sport athlete to the point where when she was a freshman in high school, she was on her varsity soccer team and was named like all Iowa whatever in her freshman year. So her family doubled down on playing multiple sports, and clearly it's helped her become a really great athlete.
Super competitive, obviously. And I want to make a quick correction because I said she was a rookie. She's actually in her second season.
What, time has flown?
Okay.
I
know.
You guys are minding us on the details. Okay.
No, very important on this show.
All
I'm going
right.
to correct anything as quickly as possible. Ty in Tacoma, thank you so much. Someone else also mentioned that. So, yeah, she's just changing the game, and I love it. I love it for the Storm, and I love it for just women in sports.
Yeah. By the way, David 206 says, Clark is an amazing player. She's also a top-notch trash talker. Part of the game, but invites a target.
I love it. Thank you, Billy, in the 253 as well. Okay, still ahead. Okay, we mentioned Jeff Bezos, and basically he's getting married, and right now I've just got the Lauren Sanchez.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
And so they're getting married. We're not going to go into details of that, but we need to talk about prenups.
Let's talk about prenups. Okay.
I think you and I might land a little differently on this one.
I'm
not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Okay, we'll talk about that coming up next on the Gee and Ursula Show.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
Seattle is the nation's most male-skewed major city. There's more men in Seattle. They say in the article here, they said the most masculine city, but I absolutely disagree with that.
You've seen the men in this town.
Exactly.
Please. It's not like it's 80-20.
No,
that's when it's hard to meet a lady.
That's true.
When there's 4 guys for every girl. That's when it's here come the bride's time.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
On KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
Change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten. Classics are remixed. Bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. Here at Xfinity, we know there's still good in keeping some things the same. That's why we want to do our part with a 5-year price guarantee on our internet, it means no matter what changes, you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at Xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on OpenSignal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
It started as a puddle.
Where?
In the shower.
Uh-oh.
Then the kitchen sink.
Started backing up?
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Clogged up.
Right. No problem.
Beg your pardon?
There's no clog we can't clear.
You're Dan.
From Apollo Plumbing.
This is going to get pricey.
How about $83?
To clear my drain?
Apollo Plumbing clears main drains every day.
For $83?
83 or it's free.
What's the catch?
No catch. We'll even do a camera inspection.
Why's that?
It's the best way to find the cause of your clog.
And it's included?
No extra charge. Truth is, we hate clogs.
I don't love them.
Seen them all.
Ew.
I promise, there's no clog Apollo can't clear.
Guaranteed.
83 or free.
Goodbye, slow drains.
All it takes is an accessible clean out.
And Apollo gets my drains draining again.
You call, we come, it's fixed.
My heroes.
Just doing our job.
Thank you, Apollo Plumbing.
ApolloPlumbing.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around. And every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage. The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk. A wireless company that actually stands for something.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And as we've been saying, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are getting married in Venice. He's, of course, one of the world's richest people. He's already been married before, so it's only natural to think, are they going to have a prenup? And the Wall Street Journal took a look at what wealthy Americans are packing into their prenups. And, basically it is part legal document, part life contract. This is so unrelatable, but okay, think about things like who gets the private jet? Who gets to keep the show horses? Who keeps quiet on social media if things go south? Okay, we can't relate to that. Right. But let's just talk about everyday Americans
folks.
And prenups. And first of all, do you think a prenup is a good idea?
Oh yes. And my job, because I know many of you here are like, we don't believe in those. My job in these next few minutes is to convince you why prenups are a good thing.
Okay. Now, I will, in the interest of full disclosure, y'all know I've been married for over 30 years. Mark and I did not have a prenup going in. We had very similar family backgrounds. Mm-hmm. We came from, I want to say middle class. I mean, what is that anymore? But let's just say I
didn't have much.
I came up with not a lot of money. I had debt that I took care of before our marriage. And he also, was in a similar position. So we did not do a prenup.
Okay.
I will tell you that there was a time when I used to think prenup is like a bad omen. It feels like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. You're giving yourself an out saying, well, in the event that we break it up, and, in my rose-colored glasses sort of thing, I just like to think, hey, if I'm going to get married to someone, this is going to be it, right? Even though the statistics don't bear that out. So anyway, we didn't do it.
Right.
But you're going to convince people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's just go to Imagine Land. Imagine you've been married for a while, and then you lose a parent, and they leave you a huge inheritance. And that's you hate that you lost your relative, but they left you an inheritance. And then imagine that your spouse decides they're going to leave you, and then they get half of that inheritance because you're at a community property state. How do you feel about that? Or let's say you're someone who's a widower, and you had kids, and you get remarried, and all of a sudden it doesn't work out, and they take half of your stuff that was intended for your biological kids. That can happen. Let's say you're married and you find out that your spouse had been racking up debt and you didn't know about it. Guess what? In Washington, you would be responsible for it. So I'm a fan of prenups let me just go to the dark side. This article talked about there are some clients that will have prenups that say that their spouse maintain a specific weight.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
Or that they have
God.
to exercise 4 times a week. This one lawyer said one basketball professional insisted his prenup acknowledge that NBA players are known to have affairs, so cheating couldn't trigger costly penalties. I think that's
seriously.
Okay, we're not talking about that. I think prenups are great when you have, let's say if you already have children and you want to make sure that what you had planned for them is protected. I think for those things that involve stuff that's deeply personal to your family and your legacy, I think it's very important. I'll give you one other story why prenups are good. So I had a friend, I won't say her name, but she was married to this guy for 1 year.
Oh, okay.
And she called me going off about why she should have half of his retirement when they got divorced.
Oh.
After being
After
married
1
a year.
year?
So imagine if you're the person that you've been working for all these years and you could find yourself in a situation where you've lost everything.
Yeah.
So I don't, for me, I don't see it as a bad omen. I actually think that how you negotiate a prenup could be a great reflection on how your relationship is going.
Yeah. Okay, on our text line right now, a few folks are, Barbara and Everett and 425, both saying inheritance is separate property. It is not community property. So there would be one potentially less thing that you would have to worry about.
Unless you've mingled it. Like, for example, you take the inheritance and let's say you use some of it to pay off a house. Would that still, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just saying there's so many scenarios that I could point out reasons.
Well, and then what about also taking on someone's debt?
Oh, yeah. And so this is what I want to know. For those who are against it, have you been through a divorce where someone emptied you out and you had to work? Like my aunt had to work 2 jobs to try to recover from a situation.
Yeah.
I mean.
Okay, so I told you that we didn't choose to have a prenup. Mm-hmm. Now, what would I tell my sons to do?
Oh, really?
Going into a relationship, I would tell them to do a prenup.
You would?
Yes.
What would be your reasons?
And I would say that that you don't intend to break up, and you want to make sure. But there are things, and whether it is wealth that you have made before you go into this relationship, I think you just need to be practical, and I think you need to spell some things out while making sure that both you and your partner are taken care of.
How does he feel? How did that?
It's interesting because we're just getting into this conversation. I will just, in the interest of being transparent, they have been advised, they have been told you should consider with any future partner to do a prenup.
Yeah. So
and my sister had a prenup, and I will tell you, okay, my sister, they got married a long time ago, and it was a bone of contention going into the marriage. I don't think she wanted to have a prenup. But yeah, so we'll see.
But could she understand though why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think you're more apt to want to do a prenup if you've been through marriage before, right? I mean, you're
I
like,
think so.
oh, yeah.
You see that. Sophia, how does you're Gen Z, right? Technically,
yes,
where are you all?
Yeah.
Speak for the Gen Zs. What's your delegation say?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's on a case by case basis,
Of
but
course.
I have seen more people in my generation be open about wanting to have a prenup in the general sense of, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I'm going to get one. And it doesn't mean that I don't believe in my relationship or I don't believe in love. It just seems like a sound decision. Roger and UP just wrote, prenups are like car insurance. You hope you never have to use it, but it's good to have.
Yes.
You know?
And I think that's practical.
Yeah, especially as Gen Z marrying older. You have more that you have.
Exactly. You're bringing more into it,
and
too.
Typically, that can be protected in some states, like it's because you went into the marriage with it already. But anyway, I digress. It was a great conversation.
Yes.
Love your text messages.
Yes, text us. Okay, coming up next in What's New at 10, we are going to get an update on the strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran. And then we're also going to talk about this Seattle festival that was canceled because of ice concerns. So we'll have those stories and more coming up next. This is the Gee and Ursula Show.
KIRO News Radio, the Northwest's trusted news source.
Get the latest from KIRO News Radio's James Lynch.
It happened Wednesday morning just after 6 o'clock.
Experienced voices you trust.
Several people hurt after a violent Saturday in Pierce County.
Coverage you depend on.
More from KIRO News Radio's Matt Markovich.
It's as close to a veto warning as you could possibly get.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
Now that summer is here, our family's gearing up for some big road trips in our Subaru Outback. We bought our Outback from Carter Subaru, where your drive always begins with savings. And right now, you can get the 2025 Crosstrek with 2.9% APR for 48 months. Shop with the Carter Subaru Advantage and enjoy valet parking at Carter Subaru's Ballard dealership and at-home delivery across all locations.
On approved credit, subject to vehicle insurance and availability. A documentary service fee may be added to the sale price or capitalized cost. See dealer for details. Valid through 6/30/25.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that.
Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Choke Points with Chris Sullivan.
What burning questions do you have? You can help drive the conversation by going to mynorthwest.com or text Choke Points to 888-973-5476.
Tuesdays and Thursdays on Seattle's Morning News.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Get one free set of Brake Best brake pads when you buy 2 brake rotors. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Save up to 25% of remaining 2024 heat pumps and air conditioners during Home Comfort Alliance warehouse clearance while supplies last. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump disputes an early U.S. intelligence finding on the effectiveness of U.S. military strikes in Iran.
The site is obliterated, and we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
The intel readout was that Iran's nuclear program had been set back by just several months.
I'm Vicki Barker at the Foreign Desk in London. President Trump insists those U.S. airstrikes did devastate Iran's nuclear capability. And if you don't believe him, he suggests, ask the Iranians.
Just came that Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strikes.
Insisting to reporters gathered at the NATO summit in The Hague, the Iranians won't rebuild because, quote, they've had it. Vicki Barker, CBS News, London.
At the summit, CBS's Ed O'Keefe reports Trump pushed for and got increased spending on NATO from member nations.
The goal is to have everyone spend about 5% of their GDP in the next 10 years on a combination of troops and tanks and weaponry, but also the roads and bridges and seaports needed. The U.S. essentially meets that. Poland meets that. Very few others, including Spain, do. And so now they're going to start increasing that. So it's a big accomplishment for him.
Forecasters say the brutal early summer heat wave will break along the east after today. This man is in Charlotte, where it'll hit 97 today.
Just got to grin and bear it and deal with it and stay hydrated.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, will be released from custody in his criminal case today in Tennessee. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson.
Victory for Mr. Abrego Garcia is largely short-lived in the sense that he will likely be going directly from criminal custody to ICE detention.
New Jersey Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica McIver pleaded not guilty in her federal assault case stemming from an incident at a detention center.
Justice for LaMonica!
MacIver's supporters cheered her on after her arraignment. Prosecutors say the Democrat elbowed officers as she tried to block them from arresting Newark's mayor during a clash outside the Delaney Hall Detention Center last month. MacIver had gone there to inspect the facility after complaints about the conditions inside. She addressed her supporters after her court appearance.
Thank you for standing with me, and let's continue to stand up.
MacIver says she will not back down as leaders across the country are targeted for speaking up. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Kroger says it plans to close around 60 grocery stores over the next 18 months around the country to improve efficiency. The Dow is down 150. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. Protect your auto, home, and business with Progressive and get 24/7 coverage. See if you can save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
A woman looking for her lost cat scammed out of thousands of dollars. The story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. In Bothell, a crash is blocking 2 lanes on I-405 southbound near State Route 527. You're backed up to I-5. In Tacoma, disabled vehicles blocking a lane on State Route 512 eastbound near I-5. Just a slight backup to Steel Street South right now. Other travel times, Everett to Seattle, half an hour. Federal Way to Seattle, 42 minutes. Renton to Bellevue, 32. Olympia to Tacoma will take you half an hour. Traffic brought to you by Wilcox Farms. Cage-free eggs are good, free-range better, and mobile pasture are the best. Choose the best, locally fresh Wilcox Family Farm eggs.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch.
Drop the gun, sir! Drop the gun! It's the Seattle Police!
We now know that a man died in that gun battle with Seattle police after he turned his gun on himself. 53-year-old Daniel Jolliffe also had a criminal past. In 1993, he was sentenced to 27 years in prison for killing 2 men during an alley fight in Pioneer Square. Police were called to a home in Madison Park Friday, where they say Jolliffe had shot a woman. She is now recovering. A King County woman is out nearly $5,000 after scammers claimed they found her lost cat. KIRO 7 TV's Samantha Lomibao reports.
She tells me she got a call from a man who claimed that Kitty had been found.
I said, where is he? He said, well, the police took him to the shelter and he has to have surgery because he's injured.
She says the scammer asked for money for a surgery.
I sent him the $1,540.
Then he told her the payment didn't go through. So Joan sent it again.
$1,540.
And again.
Times 3.
Until it added up.
Another red flag.
To $4,600.
It wasn't until she went to the Seattle Humane Society that she discovered her cat had never been there. King County is suing a group of Issaquah homeowners and the crew they may have hired to cut down 140 trees on public land. Caitlin McNulty and other neighbors reported the damage after watching a tree crash downhill.
They went up, they saw not only was this tree cut, but so many others were cut, and it was clearly on parkland.
The county seeking $7 million in damages. The homeowners did not respond to KIRO 7 TV requests for comment. The Seattle City Council approves a ban on rent-setting software. Critics say that technology allows landlords to collude to drive up rental prices. Councilmember Rob Saka.
This is very impactful and will support tenants for decades.
The measure prohibits corporate landlords from using RealPage's algorithm and other rent-setting services. Violators face fines of up to $7,500. Delta Airlines is expanding its service out of Seattle. It plans to add nonstop flights to Barcelona and Rome next year. Delta has added 28 new markets to Seattle over the last decade. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy skies today. We'll see highs in the upper 60s. It's 61 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO Newsradio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Gee and Ursula Show on this June 25th. Gee is out today. Angela Pope Russell is in. Thank you so much for stepping in again.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm enjoying myself.
Oh, you know what? It's always a great conversation with you. Coming up at 10:30, we are going to be talking about scammers because they are very busy again. And graffiti is one of my number one pet peeves.
Scammers are
even above that. I've got to say they've got a special place in where because of who they target. So just as we were talking about this during our morning meeting, I get a text message and I look at it and it's a scam.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that because now it's making headlines because a lot of folks are getting these text messages.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. You tell us what you have almost fallen victim to when it comes to some of these scams. Share your stories. 888-973-5476, 888-973-KIRO.
What's new at 10?
And as you've been hearing at the top of the hour, a new intelligence report out this morning claims that those U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not obliterate them, but only set the program back by a few months. This is according to sources speaking to CNN and the New York Times. The assessment was done by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's own intelligence arm. And the early findings say that the attack did seal off the entrances to 2 facilities, but did not collapse their underground buildings. And the report also said that much of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium had already been moved before those strikes. After the bombings, President Trump said the operation was a huge success.
We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration. When you take a look at the ground above, don't forget the flame is all underground. But everything above, if you look at the before and the after picture, everything above is burned black. The trees, everything. There's one building, but that's a building that sunk substantially into the granite, so that the fire goes right over it. I believe it was total obliteration.
And regarding these sources who are sharing this early analysis with these media organizations, President Trump is not buying it.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
President Trump, let's just talk about the merits of the report. So 2 things I want to address. A, it is harmful when you name call anyone in that way. It's not presidential and it's not being a great role model. So let's just say that off the top. Secondly, we're at a time where it's hard to trust anything with artificial intelligence, deep fake videos, things like that. Mm-hmm. Throwing around fake news is harmful for everyone because we need sources we can trust. And CNN did not make this stuff up. So let me get to my second point. It would have been more impactful if he would have maybe done what Marco Rubio did, was kind of clarify why they say it was obliterated. So he's not disputing this report. He basically said that the conversion facility, which is key to converting nuclear fuel into the form needed to produce a nuclear weapon, was destroyed. And this is a quote from the New York Times from Rubio. It says the facility is where enriched uranium gas has been converted into solid materials, ultimately a metal that can be used to fabricate a nuclear bomb or a warhead. So basically, while everything might have not been obliterated, he's saying the conversion facility was. So, and my thing is,
it doesn't mean it was a failure.
Exactly.
And let's just put it this way: all of us want it to be a success, regardless of party. And I was mentioning this yesterday to Gee, and I said, give President Trump credit. If he is able to achieve a major setback in Iran's nuclear program, we are all better for it. And if this operation was carried out and no American lives were lost and there was minimal civilian casualty, all the reports aren't out, but it sounds like it was very precise as it could be, and again, that is a good thing. It's once he starts getting into that kind of stuff and the name calling, and
as opposed to just saying the truth.
You know what? We're still waiting for more details to come out.
Yes. Levitt needs to come help him on that.
Yeah, our goal is still to get Iran back to the table and try to work out. There is a ceasefire that it may be very precarious right now, but there's still a ceasefire, and maybe we can make some progress.
Yeah, let's help him. How could we kind of put Rubio's comments into a sexier Donald Trump one? We could just
maybe give Marco Rubio more airtime.
then there's that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the long and short of it is when I said obliterated, meaning we destroyed the conversion facility, and you can't make a nuclear weapon without the conversion facility. Right? That just seems like a wiser move. I think taking shots at a reputable media company is not.
Well, and in his mind, and many conservatives don't think it is a reputable.
Okay, well,
news
I could say
organization.
that about any. I will say this about all of them. None of them are free from errors or bias, but we know that. But they're not running deep fake videos. They're verifying them before they put them on the air. So they are actually on the ground reporting in various places. So there are at least processes in place at these places. I don't love certain news channels, but I know that they're better than some of the stuff I'm getting on social media. That's a fact.
Okay, well, let's talk about something much closer to home because it was a big celebration. Were you there?
I was.
Okay.
I did lots of Juneteenth. Yes.
Okay, so more than 8,500 people packed into Jimi Hendrix Park last week for Seattle's Juneteenth Festival. I didn't know this, but it was the largest event on the West Coast to honor Black liberation and celebrate community. It was huge.
It was, because I live near that area, and so I dropped my daughter off. I was like, wow, this is amazing to see so many people flocking to this, because this is near the the Northwest African American Museum.
Which I love,
so
if you haven't gone to see.
It was just great to see community gathering there.
Okay, but apparently that joy turned bitter.
Oh, it did. I'm driving down the street and I see police officers just going car to car, like ticketing people. And so I'm like, what in the world? So I reached out to the mayor's office and was like, what is going on? Like, this is Juneteenth. It's a holiday. We should be welcome. Let's just say in general, in the city of Seattle, we want people to come visit. We want people to patronize our businesses. We want people to come back and hang out in the city. That is not the way to do it. So,
because it was a holiday. Okay, so I want to just read a quote from former state representative Dawn Mason, who was there. And she says, basically, she is demanding that the city void those tickets because, and she wants a public apology to Seattle's Black community because she says the city suspends parking enforcement on holidays. Why not this one? And she's right. I mean, Juneteenth is a federally recognized holiday. And on most holidays, Seattle does suspend street parking enforcement, but the city is now saying this was a special event, and the special event rules still apply, meaning that even on Juneteenth, drivers were expected to check the fine print.
No. Well,
so what was the response that you got?
So the mayor just said he understands and is aware of the frustration, especially on a day of joy. He said they were focused on rules that addressed public safety, like blocking fire hydrants, bus zones, load and unload, things like that. He also said in the future, they're going to work closely with the Department of Transportation, SDOT, to make sure that signage is clear and things like that. I did send him a message actually, so I haven't given him enough time to respond, in all fairness.
Yes.
Like, will they void those tickets?
I was going to say.
That was my question.
Yeah.
If they appeal, will you void him? Because the street, even though he was saying they were focused on vendor load areas and fire hydrants and all that, the street that I was on that I could see, it seemed very harmless. Like, it didn't seem like
and they
one
all
of those,
just all got tickets?
That's what it looked like. They were going car to car. I think you should, on a holiday like that, a celebration, you want to attract people, ticket the most egregious ones. Like, can we work around this on this federal holiday? And so I appreciate
the other option, which I've seen before, and it's a bit of a pain, but it is something that you have a shuttle that takes folks, like if they can park in a free
That's
area,
fair.
and have people shuttle to the event.
That's fair. And he did say in the text that there were a bunch of verbal warnings given to people. So, I mean, I appreciate that he is aware of it, that he's saying what we're going to do in the future to kind of.
Can you ask the mayor? We haven't had him on the show for a while.
Yes.
Can you? You don't need to do it right now.
Okay.
But can you text him and say, "Hey, Gee and Ursula are still very interested in having you back on the show."
Okay.
How's that?
I will do that. Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to talk. Let's squeeze in one more story because there is a very heartbreaking and disturbing story out of Spanaway.
Heartbreaking story. Yeah. So basically, there is a couple in Spanaway, and they're suing a funeral home based in Lakewood for allegedly mishandling their child's remains. According to the News Tribune, Ashley and Michael Thornburg, they tried for several years to have a baby. Finally, they got pregnant. And then at 26 weeks, they lost her. They called her Riley. The lawsuit claims that the couple signed this contract with Mountain View Funeral Service to embalm their daughter about a month in advance of a planned funeral. Well, apparently the funeral home took 3 weeks to perform this procedure, and embalming was supposed to slow down the decomposition. So when they finally saw their baby, they say that she was unrecognizable, and now they just can't erase the memory of it. They're like, this image is like, so we could not even recognize her because she had decomposed that much. The News Tribune did get a statement from Mountain View. They didn't comment on the lawsuit itself, but they said that we have a commitment to serve and do what's right for our families. Our focus will remain where it's always been, and that is to continue to provide our community and families with care and respect. Now, the attorney for the couple says he's since found out that it's not common to embalm a baby, but if done, should happen within the first few days. But again, the lawsuit says they had this contract with the funeral home that it would be done in a certain amount of time. It's just, yeah.
I mean, one of the things that just comes to mind is when you're already grieving and that there is I mentioned this morning and it comes to mind, it's not really pertaining to this particular thing, but it just brought back memories of us trying to figure out, best way to honor our loved ones when they passed. And unfortunately, in the last decade, I've lost a number of family members. So I've had to go through this process. And, in the middle of your grief, you're having to make these impossible decisions or just painful decisions. And let's face it, the funeral industry and the embalmment and funeral homes, it is an industry. And you're making a lot of decisions. A lot of it, it's expensive.
Right.
It is expensive to die. And it's not something that you think about. In the case of this, I don't know how, I don't hear much about babies being embalmed. And then in this case, it was a baby born very early. But I understand the grief of the family.
Oh, absolutely. And, for me, what it triggered was I recently saw this show. Is it on Netflix? I forget which streaming service it's on, but it's called The Mortician.
It's on Max, I think.
And it's based on this true story of this funeral home. You talked about it being a business.
It's
a big business.
I was
blown. I was like, this is a true story. And I think what it made me think about is during these times, trust is so important because this is like you said, you're grieving and you want to trust that the people that you've, charged with taking care of these final steps are going to do so with care and respect and according to your wishes. And so I have to imagine for the funeral home that these are built on relationships.
Yes.
And that's a tough one.
And if anyone is listening right now and is much more familiar with this, my understanding too is that in many cases, the people that you work with at these funeral homes, you're making decisions whether, like if it's a casket, what kind of casket, what kind of headstone, and all of these have different degrees of cost. And you may not anticipate it, but we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And in your moment of grief, you want to do right by the loved one you just lost. And so I guess if you're listening right now, my advice would be all of this should be taken care of beforehand. We all know we're going to die someday. Don't leave it to the ones who are left behind to have to try to figure out, oh my gosh, what kind of casket would she have wanted?
Oh yeah.
Did she want cremation?
Yes.
Did she want to be buried? Did she, all that stuff, which there are some people who just don't even want to touch that topic.
Right. And of course, in this situation, that wouldn't have.
No.
I just, but you're just in general.
It.
Totally.
Exactly.
And I just remember what a rift that caused in our family when my dad had cancer and we were getting to the final months and it was like, how dare you? Because then you're not believing in prayer. You're not having hope. And as they saw it. And I'm glad we did because I'm glad we did it that way. It's kind of like the other conversation we just had. I'm not giving up hope, but I am preparing, just like I love what our texter said about having insurance.
Yes. But it is one of those things that families, especially in their time of grief, are trying to make the right decision. And I don't want to paint people in that industry as knowing that you're already feeling a lot of guilt or sadness or whatever. So they're going to try to upsell you on what it is that, your loved one deserves to have, this, and this. And then now you're $10,000 into it. And again, it's just something that you should think about before you actually have to make those decisions.
I totally agree. And by the way, I don't know, the fact that I was watching a show called The Mortician is kind of disturbing to me. But it was one of those things that was on and you were just like, wait, is this real? Like, what is going on? So it just...
Sean in Arlington just texted in and says, I want mine to be a wood chipper at sea. I mean, yeah, to each his or her own, how we want to go. Once we went through the process with others, I have shared that my husband and I told my husband, I said, I called him from the funeral home and I just said, we were at the cemetery. We were at Holyrood, and I said, "I'm already buying our plot." Just so you know.
Okay, you did. You were like, "I'm preparing." Yeah, and how did he take it?
Going.
How did he take it?
He's like, smart.
Yeah,
we know.
Tracy and Burien said, "Please mention you also have the opportunity to compost your remains through an accredited company that provides this service. It's environmentally conscious and less expensive." And then there's that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
okay, still ahead, we are going to talk about these scammers. A bunch of you are texting in and said you got the same scam that I did on my text message this morning as we were talking about it.
No,
I mean, it's
wild.
everywhere. So we'll talk about that next here on the Gee and Ursula Show.
This hour is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington.
Escalation.
The U.S. attacks Iran.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America.
Stay with KIRO Newsradio for the very latest.
Iran launching missile attacks today on U.S. military bases in Qatar and Iraq. Retaliation for the American bombing.
And what it means here at home.
The Bremerton-based USS Nimitz is on its way to the Middle East.
Experience local voices you trust. Stay with KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and mynorthwest.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck. And she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes. But when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
May I help you? I just wanted to request a late checkout, please.
Of course. That's $30 per hour for up to 4 hours.
Huh. Okay, but if you can offer a late checkout, then that probably means no one is staying in that room. So if it's empty, maybe I can just stay a few extra hours.
Oh, aren't you adorable?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
What's the biggest mistake you can make when selling your home? Settling for less money. That never happens with Orchard. Disappointing offers can wear you down, causing you to settle for thousands less. You don't have to settle when you sell with Orchard. Orchard reinvented the real estate industry by guaranteeing your home sale and helping you sell on the market for top dollar. First, Orchard gives you cash up front so you can buy and move into your new home first, on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then once you're all settled in, your Orchard agent helps sell your home on market for top dollar. Here's what one Orchard customer said. I never could have sold without Orchard. I made way more than I expected, and it couldn't have been easier. With Orchard, you never have to settle for less. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Curious how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com. Orchard.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
If you want that summer body you've always dreamed of, then this message is for you, ladies, and you men too. Get rid of extra stubborn fat and address areas of loose skin around the waistline, chin, and under the upper arms with ProSculpt, the new one-day instant permanent fat removal and skin tightening treatment. Maybe you've tried the lasers, fat freezing methods, even those new pills, but without the desired results. ProSculpt is different. It's minimally invasive, performed while fully awake, gentle yet powerful. Designed to target the waistline, chin, neck, arms, and thighs, ProSculpt uses FDA-cleared plasma technology to deliver immediate, permanent fat-reducing and skin-tightening results, all in just one visit. If you want that summer body this summer, then you must act now. Go to ProSculpt.com today to schedule your free consultation. Get $250 off. For instant, permanent fat reduction and skin tightening, visit ProSculpt.com.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit MuckleshootCasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. Smoked paprika in your go-to goulash? That's go-go goulash. Sometimes a different way is the better way. Like the SR 509 Expressway, an alternate route that'll help manage congestion and provide better access to SeaTac. Open soon, free through summer.
KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. Seattle's ice field director is pushing back against claims they have an arrest quota. Camilla Walmsley tells KIRO News Radio her office has a goal to arrest 30 to 50 undocumented immigrants each day, but the goal is not always met. And she adds,
So I don't think it's accurate to say that we're ripping families apart. We're removing people who have final orders of removal from this country back to their country of citizenship. It doesn't always feel like that. I understand that, but that's what our job is.
She maintains that those with criminal records remain the agency's priority, but anyone here illegally risks deportation. A Seattle man is stuck in Israel as the conflict between the country and Iran simmers. KIRO 7 TV's Jake Chapman reports.
One of the last things you think of when you're on vacation.
I came here on vacation to see friends and enjoy food and culture and family. And next thing I found out, my phone started going crazy in the middle of the night.
Getting caught up in the middle of war. And in order to get back home, he has to cross from Israel's southern border into Egypt.
My flight was canceled. I have to get back to Seattle to attend a wedding of a dear friend.
Although there's so much uncertainty in the air.
He hopes to be back in Seattle soon. Despite a U.S. intelligence report that says U.S. military strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months, President Trump is insisting.
Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says it's near its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strikes.
He says the U.S. and Iran will meet for talks next week. Trump was in the Netherlands, where other NATO members have agreed to contribute more to the security alliance. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte.
With this plan, allies have agreed to invest 5% of GDP in defense.
Some countries say they will struggle to do that. Washington Congresswoman Kim Schreier, a pediatrician, took Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to task at a hearing this week. The Health and Human Services Secretary has cast doubt on vaccines.
I will lay all responsibility for every death from a vaccine-preventable illness at your feet.
Kennedy fired all 17 members of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. He appointed 8 new members, and HHS spokesperson says they are all highly credentialed. On Wall Street, the Dow is down 132 points, NASDAQ up 47. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk in Bothell, the crash has been cleared from I-405 southbound near State Route 527. You're still backed up nearly to I-5. In Tacoma, the disabled vehicle's been moved from State Route 512 eastbound near I-5. No significant backup there. Travel times are looking pretty good. Everett to Seattle, 36 minutes. Federal Way to Seattle, 37. Renton to Bellevue, 32. Traffic brought to you by Kia of Everett. Over 400 tariff-free new Kias are available now at Kia of Everett with easy lease and financing options. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy skies today with highs in the upper 60s. It's 61 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Gee is off today. He is recovering from, I think it's just fatigue that caused him to have the worst case of the sniffles yesterday. Angela Poe Russell is in. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And while we were talking about scamming and the scammers who are just prolific here in Washington and all across the country, just as we were talking about it during our morning meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. I got a text message from a number that I did not recognize, and it said, Seattle Vehicle Administration, DMV, this is your final notice. Enforcement penalties begin on June 28th. As of today, it shows that you still have an outstanding traffic ticket and blah, blah, blah. And it says all these things that we can do. Here, pay now. Here's a link. And it says pay immediately before enforcement to avoid license suspension and further legal disputes. So it looks legit, but only because we were already talking about it. Some other folks got it in the newsroom yesterday, and it is now in the headlines. It was like, yeah, I know. Well, not to mention, I haven't gotten any traffic tickets, so it's like I know that I don't owe any. But I mean, these scammers are nonstop, first of all, and they're unfortunately getting a lot of people.
Yes. Just yesterday, we got one. We had finished driving. My daughter got out of the car and said, Mom, we owe a toll. And she goes, yeah, it says the DMV, and we have this toll bill, and we have to pay it. And I was like, I was probably like, do not click on anything. And sure enough, I pulled it up. And if you look at these links, it needs to make sense. Like I just say and yes, it was a scam. It was absolutely a scam. We always talk about protecting the elderly. We also have to protect our young people. We've done reports right here on this show of young people falling victim because so many of us
sextortion, all of it, yes.
So many of us at work, we get these trainings, and some folks in different demographics maybe don't. And so were you going to say, I want to make sure Sophia weighs in because she has a perspective too.
Yeah, Sophia, it was important because you were pointing out that you as someone who is in your 20s, I mean, you've grown up only knowing the internet and, being very comfortable working in and out of it and social media, et cetera, and texting. And this is something that you all need to almost get retraining on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I'm noticing more so for the newer generation. I think when I was growing up, the internet was still very scary. So there was so much emphasis on cybersecurity and not trusting strangers on the internet and being aware. And now it's kind of the opposite effect, where a lot of our lives are on the internet, and you kind of start on the internet and you're kind of working backwards. And so I do think there should be a push again for internet education is so important to be like, hey, just because someone's young or maybe more competent because they've been on an iPad their whole life doesn't necessarily mean they don't also need the skills to know.
Yes, like this is a scam.
And they've gotten more clever.
Well, they have. The scammers are incredibly clever and very realistic. And of course, anytime you're asked to send money, you should be suspicious, period. Anytime you get a text from unknown, even if it looks official, just be suspicious automatically.
It's the clicking of the link. I did once before.
Yes, because this is a phishing scam.
Yep.
Yes, the clicking of the link, and then you're now dealing with, people have your information, scammers who have your information. Also, it could cause, all sorts of problems with your, whether it's your phone or whether it's company, if you're on the company internet.
Here's one I want to warn people about. I remember being in a Target store and getting a text message while I'm in the Target, basically saying there's a problem with your Wells Fargo. And I believed it because it's like, it knows I'm at the store. And they'll send you those questions saying, is this really you? And sure enough, it was total scam.
Well, and speaking of scams, there is another scam. And this woman in King County ended up spending nearly $5,000 because she believed someone who said they had found her cat. So Joan, we'll go with Joan, tells KIRO 7 TV Kitty had vanished earlier this month, and someone called claiming that they had found that cat.
I said, where is he? He said, well, the police took him to the shelter, and he has to have surgery because he's injured.
Now, I heard the interview on KIRO 7 TV, and she was saying she was so happy that her beloved cat had been found, so she wasn't really thinking clearly. So she did send a first payment through Zelle. Then she sent another because they said, well, we didn't get it. Well, they actually did. And so she sent another payment through Zelle. But then she finally visited the Seattle Humane Society, and she learned that Kitty had never even been there. And so again, they're saying, she lost nearly $5,000, but they're saying never send money over the phone for lost pets. Just never send money over the phone, period, unless you know exactly who it is.
And it seems like they could have easily done, like I could see you giving a credit card number. Like her case, it was Zelle, but I totally understand how she fell victim to this because you're looking for your cat. These people know that your cat is missing and they're saying, hey, we have it. And you think, the organization's just charging me a fee because that's what they told her, right? They were charging a fee.
Yeah, so you had talked about your daughter seeing the one about the toll. This new one is DMV saying that you've got an outstanding ticket. So Department of Licensing is saying do not click on any links within the messages. The best way to handle them is to simply click delete and report junk, and then call it good. And the other thing is the text message that I got. It says, the area code was 63. Interesting. It's the international area code for the Philippines. So the scammers are in the Philippines. I love the Philippines, but come on, you scammers.
No, I don't want to challenge it because I worry that it's just they're going to keep getting better and better. And I think to your point, Sophia, we are going to have to make sure we have programs in the workplace that address this. We have, we're trying to see more targeted education to older people. I do think that in this next era, with so many kids falling victim to sextortion, to these phishing things, they're going to have some kind of curriculum because just like you used to have home economics, and this is kind of the new home economics.
Well, and reinforced at home. I even as adults, I still remind our sons, this is a scam. And I have the benefit of having the job that I do, so we see them all, and I'll send them the stories, I'll send them the links. And I know they're probably just like rolling their eyes, like, okay, here's mom again. But, can't assume that everyone knows.
Mm-mm. And some parents suck.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Okay, still ahead. We're going to do scenarios. Gee's not here, but we're going to still do scenarios where we solve other people's problems. We need your help on that. This is the Gee and Ursula Show.
Jake and Spike.
How you doing today?
Fabulous.
You're looking a little, are you a little glum?
No,
oh, you're fabulous.
Fabulous. I'm faking it till I make it.
Good for you.
I'm a transmission fluid half full kind of guy.
Oh, that's nice.
How's that?
You need that today.
I do need that.
Because you're having some car troubles. Is that okay that I tell people that?
Yeah, of course it is. You know, we live our lives. We live our lives for the betterment and enjoyment of this city.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
On KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
Are you going on a big, long trip this summer? If you are going to be driving in your car to one of your favorite vacation spots like we do, we're talking about Lake Chelan. We drive over there every summer in our Subaru Outback, and that car has been wonderful for all of our family adventures. We bought our Subaru at Carter Subaru. It is one of 2 vehicles that our family purchased from a family-owned dealership, and that was important to us because at Carter Subaru, you are going to be treated like family. One of the things that I love is that this is a company and a dealership that is so invested in our community. You don't have to deal with any pushy sales tactics, no gimmicks. We are repeat customers because Carter Subaru is truly committed to treating their customers with the utmost respect. Right now, they have what you've been searching for. They've got 300 new vehicles in stock, including, if you want to go electric, they've got the 2025 Solterra EV, 0% APR for 72 months. Shop with the Carter Subaru Advantage and enjoy valet parking at Carter Subaru's Ballard dealership and at-home delivery across all their locations.
On approved credit, subject to vehicle insurance and availability. A documentary service fee may be added to the sale price or capitalized cost. See dealer for details. Valid through 6/30/25.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx, save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. Last aid year, University of Maryland Global Campus awarded over $21 million in scholarships to qualified students, including community college students, service members, veterans, and working adults. Now is the time to move your career forward with an online and accredited skills-based education. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
We all know a cancer diagnosis is physically and emotionally draining, but it can also be a financial hardship. That's why Northwest Hope and Healing is here to help. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda, a plastic surgeon who is proud to be part of Northwest Hope and Healing's mission. We provide a lifeline for breast and gynecologic cancer patients. We cover essentials like food, utilities, and childcare, so patients can focus on healing. This year, we are proud to celebrate 25 years of Northwest Hope and Healing. Since the year 2000, we have distributed over $2.8 million in direct financial assistance to thousands of local cancer patients. And you can help us make a difference. Mark your calendar for Life in Color, a summer brunch, auction, and fashion show on August 17th at the Columbia Collective in Woodinville. It's an unforgettable afternoon of unwavering hope and inspiration. Get your tickets now for Life in Color on August 17th. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
Smoked paprika in your go-to goulash? That's go-go goulash. Sometimes a different way is the better way. Like the SR 509 Expressway, an alternate route that'll help manage congestion and provide better access to SeaTac. Open soon, free through summer.
Hartley Wilcox here from Wilcox Family Farms. I've really enjoyed meeting so many of you at our recent egg demo events. I'm often asked, are omega-3 eggs really better for you? They sure are. Omega-3 eggs are an incredible source of natural omega-3s, providing on average 3 times that of other eggs. Eating omega-3 eggs promotes strong bones and joints and is proven to reduce cholesterol and blood pressure. Choose Wilcox Family Farms eggs today. Locally fresh since 1909.
Fraud is rampant, and those on Medicare are targets. Medicare never makes cold calls, so when someone calls you and says they're from Medicare, hang up. If you get an offer for free medical equipment or services, toss it. When you get your medical statement, read it. And if anything looks suspicious, report it to the Senior Medicare Patrol with Sheba. Sheba is a free, unbiased service of the Washington State Office of the Insurance Commissioner. If you suspect fraud, search Medicare Sheba or call 800-562-6900.
Your local volunteer fire department routinely answers the call, whether it be a fire, traffic accident, or a cat stuck in a tree. But because of declines in memberships, departments have become understaffed. Your local volunteer fire department desperately needs you. Can you direct traffic, install a smoke alarm, help at a fundraiser? No matter what skills you have, you can make a difference. You don't have to fight fire to be a volunteer. Will you answer the call? For more information on how you can help, visit the Volunteer Firefighter Alliance at supportvfa.org.
Okay, before we get to scenarios, I got to mention that just as we were talking about the scammers and the text messages, Nick, you got one.
Yeah, just on my text line. Yeah, on my phone. The DOL scam popped up right after the segment ended.
Right. Pam and Puyallup said same thing. A bunch of folks said the same thing.
So I'm concluding that the phones are listening to us. I think somehow the cookies are on there and we have to accept these, quote, necessary cookies on websites. Something is listening and triggering.
Well, and if it's not that, it's so prolific. It is so, it's permeated. It's everywhere at this point. So just delete and report junk. And then someone asked, well, where does it go when you report junk? It goes to Apple.
Okay. So you don't like my conspiracy theory?
No, well, I do. But I'm a little gun shy about assuming that's what it is unless someone tells me it is absolutely that. Okay. But let's do scenarios.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then I'm going to turn the tables and have you guys answer this, okay? So this is from the Dear Abby column. I lost my wife of 20 years 4 months ago after a prolonged illness. I retired at 62 and became her primary caretaker. The job of caretaker is endless and stressful and yet rewarding. A female friend of many years came to the memorial. Her name's Dinah. I grieved. I attended Grief Share, apparently a group, and I read articles about grief. I experience grief every single day for my wife, and I will for my whole life. Recently, though, Dinah and I began spending time together, including worship. And for clarification, we have never been intimate and will not be until our wedding night, if that ever happens. The difficulty, though, is how my late wife's family is reacting. They are becoming more and more distant. I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. Others have said, you should wait for at least a year. My financial planner and I spoke about not making any major financial decisions for a while, but what is this 1 year thing? Is 4 months too soon to start spending time with someone new after losing your spouse of 20 years?
You want me to go first?
Yes, I do.
I think they need to butt out. If you haven't lost someone that close to you, then withhold judgment. I'm very careful about judging people when they've been caretakers for many years. Like I knew there was one guy who his wife had Alzheimer's, and she was a celebrity. And I think she'd had it for like a decade, and he had started seeing someone and she was still alive. No judgment. There is something like as a human, you need connection and you need love. And if you find that, I just hesitate to judge people in those situations when I have never been there and have no idea what that feels like. I think his wife would be really happy for him, and the family needs to just stop.
And I understand the hurt of the family because they're still grieving their loved one. I mean, it has only been 4 months, but I think you're absolutely right. Like, what is the right amount of time? 6 months? A year? I mean, people are going to judge no matter what.
Yeah.
He did all the things. He was her primary caretaker. I mean, if I'm going to take his word for it in this column, he was the primary caretaker. Having seen how that plays out being a primary caretaker for someone who has a very serious illness and you are there until their death and you have done everything you can as a partner. And you mentioned also Alzheimer's, seeing someone go through that path, which is an entirely different thing because caregiver is also different. I mean, that relationship is very different. And let's face it, I mean, as you get older, you want companionship in many cases.
Yeah, and I'm not saying walk down the aisle right now.
No.
I think that would be weird.
Yes.
But hanging out, I'm curious.
Yes.
Like,
but what I want to say, and I want Sophia to weigh in as well, and we'll get Nick's perspective too, but I do think he needs to approach her family and let them and listen to them. Because, I mean, he was their son-in-law for 20 years. And I understand the hurt. And, just listen to them, be an open ear, and just say, this is where, hear them first. This is where I'm coming from. But I don't think people get a chance to judge, like, how soon you should get into another relationship or not.
Let me just add this one thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes having that conversation
can go
it
haywire.
could just be, it could just be a misunderstanding.
Yes.
We had that in our family. There was like a little riff after my dad passed. And when I finally talked to my cousins, they had this idea that we'd gotten some big inheritance that I was like, dude, we got nothing. Like, what are you talking, and so having those, there could be something they're thinking or assuming.
Yes.
That may not be true.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a very complex issue because I think there has to be a level of sensitivity when you're dealing with a family because, of course, it's going to feel a little jarring and a little sudden. And I think, kind of on your point, Angela, I think hopping into a marriage that quickly might seem to outsiders looking in a little disrespectful, but at the same vein, you can't judge anyone for, whatever they're going through in the way that they're able to meet someone,
Right. And he didn't do wrong by his wife as she was alive. Nick.
Well, look, this guy, he made it clear there's nothing funny going on between him and his friend. And they haven't even discussed the aspect of the relationship when it comes to marriage or that sort of dynamic. They both seem like the honest, no-nonsense people. So they're just trying to help the wife in need while approaching a difficult time when she's in pain and illness. So for the parents to ask him to stay on an island of his own with no lifeline, I think that's a little insane to me.
Here I go again on my own.
Even if the wife was fine, I still think it's okay for him to have some friends. So I think the parents are going a little overboard with trying to control him.
You know who disagrees with us?
Who?
Our friend Nick on our text line who says, nah, fam, I'm going to judge. My stepdad remarried 6 months after mom died. That stung.
Yeah, that's getting married because then you wonder,
the
did this
marriage
start?
part, yes.
Did this start before? That's the thing I would wonder, and that would hurt.
Well, continue. Yeah, and I understand that as well. Continue to share your feedback. 888-973-5476, 888-973 KIRO. We'll have our top stories coming up at 11. Our reporter Gwen Baumgartner had a chance to talk to someone in the Seattle ICE office, and we are going to share information with you about a festival in Seattle that was canceled because of concerns about ICE. So we'll have that and a lot more coming up next on the Gee and Ursula Show.
Like a drifter, I was born to walk along.
A KIRO Newsradio exclusive on Seattle's Morning News.
Mayor Bruce Harrell, why do you want this job for another 4 years?
Well, we have a lot of work to do. And I think that in my first term, we laid a great foundation by which to build upon. With the challenges we're having with our federal government, having to sue our own federal government, I think we need stable, strong, effective leadership. That's why I'm running for re-election.
Watch the full interview on the KIRO Newsradio YouTube page or download the KIRO Newsradio app.
Oh, it is the time of the season for pests. That's right. No one likes them. No one knows where they come from, but we can all agree no one wants them in their house. Mike Salk here for Crawl Pros, and they have a full-service pest control division now called Pest Pros. They can come to your house and do a full corner-to-corner inspection, take care of any problems, just like they did at my home. This is the time of the year you'll start seeing more ants in and around your home. You may also begin hearing a little buzzing outdoors. Bees, wasps, hornets, if they make a nest on your property, that is a huge huge nuisance. So please don't try to take care of those nests on your own. Simply call Pest Pros to have any nest removed and destroyed professionally before the problem grows or you and your guest ends up getting stung. Pest Pros is the full-service pest control division of Crawl Pros with eco-friendly treatments to keep ants, stinging insects, and all sorts of critters from making their way into your home. If you're worried about rodents, ants, or other bugs or an issue in and around your home, call Pest Pros or visit gopestpros.com to schedule a free inspection at gopestpros.com.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle. Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nia Hurd-Garris with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. As parents, we want our children to grow up healthy and strong. That means helping teens take responsibility for their health as they become young adults. One way to do that is to make sure they have one-on-one time with their pediatrician. That helps them become comfortable talking about any health issue with their doctors and with you. So make sure to give your teen a voice. It's good for their health. For more on teen health, visit healthychildren.org.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Oh, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from V66? Wait, are these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab technicians so she can bounce back into her old self.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
An illegal alien from Guatemala charged with raping a child in Massachusetts. An MS-13 gang member from El Salvador accused of murdering a Texas man. A Venezuelan charged with filming and selling child pornography in Michigan. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. But if you register using our CBP Home app and leave now, you could be allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
AAA asked me if I would change my name from Sir Mix-a-Lot to Sir Mix-a-Lot. I said, why would I do that? They said, you're more than just a rapper. You're a car collector. You're a businessman. You're an inventor. Just like AAA is more than just towing. They have awesome travel advisors and insurance agents. And they got 3 A's in their name. Maybe I should change my name. Give me 3 A's, mix, mix, When I say mix, give me 3 A's, mix,
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. President Trump is returning to Washington after the NATO summit and a press conference in which he insisted despite an intelligence assessment, the U.S. wiped out Iran's nuclear program. Linda Kenyon reports.
The president says this much is clear.
We destroyed the nuclear.
At a press conference following the NATO summit at The Hague, Trump pushed back against leaked intelligence reports stating Iran's nuclear program was set back but not destroyed, and that the nuclear materials were removed before the airstrikes.
Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
The president also says U.S. and Iranian officials will talk next week. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, Washington.
NATO leaders agreed to a massive hike in defense spending. That's something President Trump has demanded for years. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
NATO allies have agreed a new defense investment pledge, raising defense and security spending to 5% of GDP by 2035, making NATO stronger, fairer, and more lethal than ever.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell said today President Trump's tariffs are likely to push up inflation in the coming months. He made his remarks in testimony on Capitol Hill, where some Republicans accused him of bias. President Trump was asked today if he had replacements in mind for Powell.
I know within 3 or 4 people who I'm going to pick. I mean, he goes out pretty soon, fortunately, because I think he's terrible.
Trump has sharply criticized Powell for not cutting interest rates. At least 50 heat records were broken yesterday, and 127 million Americans are under heat advisories again today in New York City.
It's just sweltering, like really just being in an oven.
The extreme heat could lessen in some areas tomorrow. A new study claims millions of children are at risk worldwide because they aren't getting vaccinated.
I'm Vicki Barker in London. The biggest study of its kind, published in The Lancet, has found that millions of children worldwide are at risk of lethal diseases because vaccination rates have stalled or reversed due to cuts in international aid programs and soaring levels of vaccine misinformation.
A medical panel appointed by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. opened its first meeting today with some controversy. It was planning to review a presentation that cited a non-existent study. The committee reviews scientific evidence to recommend who should receive vaccines. On Wall Street at this hour, the Dow Jones Industrial's down 185 points. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Making graffiti vandals pay, the story coming up. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, debris blocking 2 lanes on the northbound I-5 express lanes near Northeast 42nd Street. You're solid through Seattle. In Tacoma, a crash is blocking a lane on State Route 509 northbound near Alexander Avenue. Not seeing a significant backup there just yet. Your travel times, Everett to Seattle, 33 minutes. Federal Way to Seattle, 33. Renton to Bellevue, 29. All about on target for this time of day. Traffic brought to you by ProSculpt, the one-day permanent fat loss and skin tightening solution for men and women, offered by New Skin Med Spa in Bellevue, ProSculpt.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. We now know that a man died by suicide during a gun battle with Seattle police and that he had a criminal past. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey says police had responded to a domestic violence call near Madison Park Friday.
Body cam video shows 53-year-old Daniel Jolliffe fire at officers from a second-floor window of the victim's apartment. One officer fired back.
Drop the gun! It's the Seattle police!
Autopsy results say hours later, Jolliffe shot himself in the head. In 1993, Jolliffe was sentenced to 27 years in prison for killing 2 men during an alley fight in Pioneer Square. The woman Jolliffe shot last Friday is recovering. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
A man is recovering after a violent stabbing in Seattle's First Hill neighborhood. Police say the victim was outside a gas station on Terry Avenue when a woman stabbed him in the chest during an argument last night. Officers arrested her. The Seattle City Attorney is asking the City Council to hit graffiti vandals with higher fines. Ann Davison telling the Public Safety Committee.
The civil fine amount would be $1,000 per violation, plus a restitution for labor and material costs to abate the damage.
She says if offenders can't pay up, they could do community service to scrub and paint over graffiti instead. The Public Safety Committee will consider the measure again in 2 weeks. King County is suing a group of Issaquah homeowners accused of hacking down trees on public property to improve their view. KIRO 7 TV's Madeline Audley explains.
Kaylin McNulty and her neighbors reported it. Now King County is suing, seeking millions from a group of homeowners on top of the hill and the people they may have hired, claiming they illegally cut down or damaged more than 140 trees on public land.
These are shared resources. It's not something that can be rebuilt easily. Like all of those trees
took hundreds of years to grow.
The county says it could take generations to restore.
The county is seeking $7 million in damages. The homeowners did not respond to requests for comment. Washington State is going to take in about $720 million less than it needs over the next 4 years. That's according to the latest quarterly revenue forecast, which blames tariffs and a slowdown in the state and U.S. economies. Critics note Washington is bringing in more tax money than ever, but lawmakers are spending it faster. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy skies today with highs in the upper 60s. It's 62 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio App. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Welcome to the Gee and Ursula Show. Happy Wednesday to all of you. Gee is out today, but Angela Poe Russell is in. Good morning.
Yes, glad to
So
be here.
we have 2 hours under our belt. We have another very packed third hour for you. Coming up at 11:30, we're going to do Agree to Disagree. And one of the questions, we're going to do a You Be the Judge again. But this time, Angela, you're going to be hearing something for the first time, and we're going to be watching it, actually. And if you are close to a computer, you can watch it on YouTube along with us.
Oh, and listen, my kids say I am horrible at keeping a poker face.
Okay.
Like I try, like if something sounds bad.
You and me both. This is one of the things that I hate about having cameras everywhere.
Right.
Is that I do not hold back on my faces. So you can see that too if you're watching on YouTube. Text us as always. Our text line is open for you, 888-973-5476, 888-973-KIRO.
Top stories at 11.
On the Gee and Ursula Show.
An annual festival in Seattle's South Park neighborhood has now been called off, and it's apparently because of concerns about these ICE enforcement raids. The Duwamish River Festival typically happens in August, and there are interactive booths, food, kayaking, a lot of fun stuff. But according to the Seattle Times, the Duwamish River Community Coalition announced that it was going to cancel last week. And one of the reasons is because South Park is by the river. It is home to many Latino residents and immigrants. And the river was designated a contaminated Superfund in 2001. 5 years later, the coalition created this festival with the goal of basically connecting people who live in the area along with the efforts to clean up. I mean, as long as I've been living in Seattle, I've heard about Duwamish River cleanup. Mm-hmm. But this festival, I find it sad that they feel like they can't even hold it this year because of what is going on.
Yes. And this is a big annual thing. And as I was reading about it, it sounds like when they prepare for hosting it, they have to go around and notify neighbors and let people know what's going on. And they said during that process, a lot of people weren't opening their doors or basically saying, I'm not going to sign anything. And so it was the ultimate reading of the room that people do not feel safe and will likely not come out and support it. And just want to say this, going back to the top of our show where we talked about Washington's continued budget crisis and revenue not being where we thought it was, another example of commerce that would have been happening, not happening.
Yes. So one of the questions we have is, are their concerns warranted? We haven't really heard from ICE here locally about the enforcements happening. And our reporter, KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgartner, had a chance to interview Seattle's ICE field director. And Gwen now joins us live.
Yeah, hey, so I actually have been working to secure this interview for nearly 6 months now because here in Seattle, a sanctuary city within a sanctuary state, they really have been kind of zip-lipped. But speaking to that festival, I mean, fear and uncertainty really driving it. We know a lot of immigrant and undocumented families. That fear is really heightened right now, and a lot of it is fueled by this Trump administration directive to deport these historic numbers. So there are these reports that every field office has this arrest quota that they need to meet. Mm-hmm. So when I sat down with the Seattle ICE field director yesterday, I asked her about that. She says, no, we don't have this mandated quota. However, she says we do have this daily arrest goal. Take a listen.
It's between 30 and 50. It depends on what we're doing that day and how our teams are broken down. It's an aspirational goal. We are 100% making arrests in neighborhoods. That just puts an extra risk for the officers, of course, and for the public and for the detainees.
May I ask a clarifying?
Exactly. Go ahead, Angela.
So we don't have a quota, even though that has been reported nationally, but we do have arrest goals. Are we just messing around with words here? Is it?
Well,
help me understand the difference.
So Stephen Miller was one of the ones that came up, and that was the audio that we have shared and we've reported on, where there was a nationwide goal. But first of all, great job getting this. You saying that it took you 6 months to get this? It's because they aren't doing a lot of talking. So great job with that. But yeah, they're saying that they don't have that huge number, but they are saying that we have a quota. So in essence, they're a goal. Yeah. So it's aspirational. So in other words, they're rewarded for the number of enforcements that they do.
So 30 to 50, she says they do not always meet that goal, but this is something that they are working towards every single day. And also that second part of that soundbite you heard is that they are going into homes, they are going into communities. This kind of speaks back to this canceled festival. But she noted that in her opinion, that's really kind of their only option. She says because of these sanctuary policies, you're not seeing these arrests taking place in correctional facilities, police departments like you might in other cities or states. So she said, they're happening almost 100% in our neighborhoods.
Did this person speak to who they are prioritizing? Like, are they right? I want to know about that. Like, are they going into farms? Are they, where are we at with that?
That was the big question. And I think a lot of people, that is their big question. She says the priority for their arrests are people with criminal backgrounds and these final removal orders. Now, we have heard that at a national level. We've heard that from departments all over. But we do know that that's not always the case. I mean, CBS was reporting just yesterday, they received this internal data that half of the people currently in immigration detention centers don't have criminal backgrounds. However, that ICE field director here in Seattle says that really is their priority, the people who meet the qualifications of they do have a criminal background in our state, and they have those final removal orders in place.
Okay, when you say criminal background, a couple of the folks who were targeted as they were going through CTEC and who were held at the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, they were things that had happened years ago and had been adjudicated, like 20 years ago, where it popped up and they were held. So that would qualify as those are the folks that they're looking for as well, or how do they determine criminal background? Is it beyond being here illegally?
So she said, because I think that was something that I've always kind of wondered about, like, what is your list when you're sending these agents out? Who's on the list? How do you make the list? How do you know about people that we don't know about? And she said a lot of the cases are they're sending these detainer requests to people who have been charged or maybe in like the King County jail, and then they're released. And so she says then that because that detainer request, they've been let out, they go and try to find them. So she said it's not the average person that they're looking for. However, going back to that people with something in their background, 20 years, she did acknowledge that sometimes ICE agents make mistakes and that they're working to combat that every day.
One thing I'm curious about, you see all these arrests on social media, and people wonder, like, do these ICE people have a conscience? Do they have a heart? Like, did you all talk about how they were feeling about being in the spotlight right now?
Truly. So I asked her about, because we have been covering here extensively the protests that we've seen in LA, but also in downtown Seattle and some that have turned violent. She said, those voices, the protesters, those voices are being heard. She said, our agents live in the community. Some of their neighbors are protesters. She says, so that animosity or that opposition is absolutely not lost on them. However, she said, that doesn't change our directive. We are enforcement officers. That is our job. So whether you agree with it or not, whether you agree with the current administration's directive or not, that's always been our job.
Nathan in Bellevue said, when you said they are rewarded for this goal, do you have evidence of that, or is that just speculation? I I don't have evidence of that. That is what they said. Again, I want to make sure we get the wording correct. It is not a quota, but it is a goal.
Not a quota, an aspirational goal.
An aspirational goal. And so I guess the reward would be, I mean, if you reach your aspirational goals, I'm sure you get kudos. And that would be exactly.
You're doing your job.
Exactly. So, Gwen, what else stood out to you in this interview? I mean, like you said, you've been trying to get this for 6 months, and I appreciate your perseverance because, I mean, it's hard to get information from ICE at the moment.
I think what stuck out to me was, one, the numbers, for sure, the 30 to 50, because I think for a while, we heard that national number of we want 3,000 daily all across the country. Well, what does that mean for Seattle in particular? So that truly stuck out to me. And I think another thing that stuck out to me is the fact that, they're not immune to that opposition. The fact that they hear those protests, that they see that, and they still believe in what they do. They're still hiring. They're still going out. Yeah.
I know one of the big concerns was that people who, and some of these protesters, would be violent toward ICE agents.
Yes.
Have there been any reports of that here locally?
She said at a national level, they have seen assaults on ICE agents go up in the past year. And she said that was one thing that she really wants people to acknowledge, that if protests continue, if opposition or physical opposition continues, she said they're federal agents.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a serious crime.
It's a serious crime. So while people don't think they're real officers, she said, we are, and you can face the consequences whether you're a citizen or not.
Yeah. So we did have someone that would like to hear your full interview or hear more of the interview.
Absolutely.
How can people do that? Is it up on My Northwest? What's the plan?
We're hoping to put that up on My Northwest later today. So check that out.
Later. So this is hot off the press.
It is.
Yes. So
yes.
Great job. Gwen, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about this other story because of all the breaking news this week. I mean, this is a story we've wanted to bring up, and it's an important one to talk about. A Toppenish farm is now being sued by the state, accused of pushing out local workers in favor of foreign guest labor. State Attorney General Nick Brown says Cornerstone Ranches discriminated against domestic farm workers between 2021 and 2024, laying them off, reducing their hours, holding them to tougher standards, allegedly, all while keeping H-2A visa workers in the field. So, in case you're not aware, the H-2A program lets farms bring in foreign workers if no local labor is available, but they're required to offer the same pay and treatment to both. And the state is accusing Cornerstone of failing to do that, even forcing some workers to sign forms saying that they quit when they had actually been fired. Now, Cornerstone's owner says he was blindsided by this lawsuit. He insists that the farm uses H-2A legally. He says it's the only way to keep up with the harvest. And we have also just on the show talked about this.
Attorney General Nick Brown it is an allegation. And when a state prosecutor goes after your place, I don't think they would do it without some evidence. It still has to be adjudicated, of course.
Yes.
Some of the other pieces of these accusations that really stood out to me was about the impact on women. They said that the average weekly hours worked by women dropped by 39% within the same time period. And all of the H-2A workers that replaced them were male. So there was this level of it's like a worse nightmare, I would think, for a lot of Americans, U.S. citizens, that, we have this program. I want to say at last check, H-2A visas, we have about 300,000 of them in the United States.
Yeah, quite a few.
That they're supposed to be used only when you can't find, American workers.
Right.
And then you have to prove it. And so an allegation that some people were forced to sign that they quit, it sounds like, allegedly. And then they have these numbers that at least the prosecutor's laying out, saying this is what
Let's also point out, though, that whether it is a roofing company or folks, there are companies, there are corporations, there are farmers, who know that they are hiring people who are not only here illegally, but they're also doing it and knowing that they can get away with a lot.
Yes, you can. You don't have to maybe abide by the overtime laws. You can push it. They may not know what the laws are or the rules, or you could threaten them. And many of these people, if they travel that far, I have to imagine because they need the work. So then they become afraid and they get abused. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely this particular story really fired me up.
Yes, and it's not unique. Cornerstone is actually the second Yakima Valley farm in just the past 2 years to face this kind of lawsuit from the state.
Yes.
So, I mean, it is, so on the one hand, we talk about how farms would be crippled and our agricultural industry would be crippled without the ability to have foreign labor and undocumented immigrants working there. But on the other side, there's also, both things are true. Mm-hmm. There are also people who are completely abusing that.
Yes. And here's what I'll say. One other thing I want to throw into the mix here, and you guys are going to call me out on it, but I'm talking about taxes again. Okay. You're like, how is she going to tie taxes to this? If these farms have done this, no excuses for violating the law. And our tax system kind of, in my opinion, sets them up in a way. We had this conversation earlier this week. Ursula, a small business owner, said, we don't get to deduct our expenses when we pay our state taxes. We just have to say what our revenue is. So then a business is going to be motivated to keep those expenses down because they're not going to let me figure that into how much I pay. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying.
And I don't think
it's only.
I think it's saying this is that.
I think it's, and I know that's not what you're saying. It's only that. Because I think they're just people who just want to make as much money as possible. And if it means abusing people who are in a vulnerable position, they're going to do it.
I completely agree. I just wanted to point out that we make it really hard for smaller businesses in particular to thrive. That's all I'm saying.
That is, undoubtedly so.
And so there's almost an incentive to keep your expenses low because, that's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you. Okay, coming up next, we are going to do Agree to Disagree, and we are going to, remember, this is a chance, if you aren't already watching us on YouTube, and you can see our facial expressions and all that, but we're actually going to put this video up. Angela's going to be hearing it for the first time, and then we want y'all to be the judge. Like, which side are you on when it comes to critiquing this particular singer? Okay, about a performance that she did recently. So we'll have that coming up next. This is the Gee and Ursula Show with Angela.
This hour is brought to you by DUI Heroes. KIRO Newsradio is right there with you.
A big story developing this morning.
On your smart speaker before you head out the door.
Get the latest live from KIRO Newsradio's Luke Ducey.
Huge impacts for Boeing and Boeing workers.
The office, the gym, anywhere.
Water, like taxes, goes all the way down to the bottom, so it'll either come out of the employee's paycheck or the lack of raise.
KIRO Newsradio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
I always say, know where your food comes from. And for the best tasting food, choose locally fresh. Hartley here from Wilcox Family Farms. When you choose food from local family farmers like Wilcox, you support the local economy with jobs and promote environmental sustainability. Wilcox is committed to organic, humane practices that keep our hens healthy and help preserve the land. so our family can keep on producing great eggs for another 100 years. Wilcox Family Farms, locally fresh since 1909.
4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year in Washington state. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients. Join us at Life in Color, a brunch auction and fashion show on August 17th at the Columbia Collective in Woodinville for an unforgettable afternoon celebrating 25 years of hope and support. Get your tickets now for Life in Color on August 17th at nwhopeandhealing.org. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
Throw down to second base, tagged by JP on the money, and he is out.
Home. Home is your domain, where you know every inch like the back of your hand.
Julio racing back out of the warning track, but he makes the catch, and he flashes to the no-fly zone.
A place that brings out your protective side, and a place you'll always stand up for.
Going, it will fly away.
Because what's inside is the most valuable thing in the world. Your family. Mariners baseball at T-Mobile Park. Welcome home.
The next Mariners homestand gets started with 3 straight value games against the Royals, Monday, June 30th through Wednesday, July 2nd. Score seats for as little as $11 and enjoy a beautiful summer night at the ballpark. Go to mariners.com/value games to lock in your seats and check out the complete Mariners value game schedule.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Hey, are aches, injuries, or everyday pain slowing you down? Well, it is time to move better, feel stronger, and get back to doing what you love. IRG Physical and Hand Therapy is now accepting new patients, and no referral is needed. Their expert team offers personalized hands-on care to help you recover faster and stay pain-free longer. Shannon, what is it like to see new patients walk through your doors?
Rock, it's wonderful. You know why? It's because it's an opportunity for us at IRG to make a difference in someone's lives. It's so important that when people come in, they experience engagement, coaching, teaching. We build relationships with our patients, and we want to make it easy. We all know that healthcare has a lot of what I call minutia in it. We have a concierge call center. When you call, we're going to check your authorization, verification, certification, justification. We're going to find out everything we need to know about your insurance, and we're going to make it easy for you because we want you focusing on getting better.
And all you got to do is head over to irgpt.com to find the clinic nearest you. irgpt.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Progressive has great customer service, and it's easy to reach us because great and easy is the way to be. Like salads. Great for you, and so easy you could put any group of veggies in a bowl and it's a salad. A full carrot with a head of cabbage? Weird, but still a salad. 1 radish and a couple of green beans? Also a salad. 14 blueberries, half an onion, and a sunchoke? Odd, yes, but an odd salad. So contact Progressive's customer service by phone, app, or online. It's great and easy, just like salad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This Thursday through Sunday, 4-time Grammy winner Eliane Elias brings her Brazilian brilliance to Dimitro's Jazz Alley. Don't miss 6 shows of stunning piano, sultry vocals, and unforgettable rhythm. Tickets at jazzalley.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. Seattle's ICE field director is weighing in for the first time on reports of a growing arrest quota.
The widely reported quota from Homeland Security to increase arrest totals to 3,000 a day, a directive shared between 25 field offices across the U.S. In Seattle, ICE field director Kamala Walmsley says it's not a quota, rather a daily arrest goal, one that sometimes goes unmet.
It's between 30 and 50. It depends on what we're doing that day and how our teams are broken down. It's an aspirational goal.
Agents are efforting the largest deportation push in America's history, one of the president's campaign promises. Gwen Baumgartner, KIRO News Radio.
Fear over immigration raids has prompted organizers to cancel the popular Duwamish River Festival in Seattle this August. That's according to social media posts. The event takes place in South Park, a neighborhood with many Latino and immigrant families. A Seattle man is stuck in Israel as the conflict between the country and Iran unfolds. KIRO 7 TV's Jake Chapman spoke to him.
Randy Kessler of Seattle shares with me what he's gone through the past few days.
You just go down to the bottom floor. You see all your neighbors at 2:45 in the morning in their pajamas, tired, and there's a radio on. And in my case, those ballistic missiles almost entirely went over my head towards the more populated civilian areas of Israel.
And in order to get back home, he has to cross from Israel's southern border into Egypt.
He hopes to be back in Seattle before the weekend. President Trump is doubling down on his assertion that weekend U.S. airstrikes destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities.
We blew it up. It's blown up. To kingdom come.
A U.S. intelligence report suggests Iran's nuclear program's only been set back by a few months. Trump spoke today in the Netherlands, where he says NATO members have agreed to contribute 5% of their country's GDPs to the security alliance. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte.
This is a significant commitment in response to significant threats to our security.
But some countries say they will struggle to pay. Here in Washington state, a warning about costly courier scams.
King County Prosecutor Patrick Hines says the scam has been devastating.
We're talking about losses to victims of over $7 million.
The scammers are tricking victims into withdrawing large sums of cash and handing it over to a courier to pick up for safekeeping. Hines recommends if you get a text or email from someone you don't recognize, don't click on any links, don't reply, and if you are victimized, report it to police. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
On Wall Street, the Dow is down 198 points, NASDAQ up 25. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, debris is blocking 2 lanes on the northbound I-5 express lanes near Northeast 42nd Street. You're solid through the city. In Seattle, a disabled vehicle is blocking a lane on State Route 99 northbound at South Dearborn Street. Some localized slowing there. In Tacoma, the crash has been cleared now from State Route 509 northbound near Alexander Avenue. Travel times, Everett to Seattle, 37 minutes. Federal Way to Seattle, 30. Renton to Bellevue, 26. Traffic brought to you by KIRO News Radio. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy skies today with highs in the upper 60s. It is 62 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. We're going to try something a little different with today's Agree to Disagree, which is brought to you by Guardian Roofing and Gutters. And we're trying something so different that...
These days, we just got to take off the gloves.
Sorry, there's so many moving parts.
It's taking a minute. Okay, go ahead, Sophia.
Yes, okay. Doing something a little bit different. It's Agree to Disagree, but it's also you be the judge.
Yes.
Is there a right or wrong way to perform the national anthem? Now, Kristen Chenoweth, who is a Tony Award-winning singer, performer, actress, I can already see you are a supporter in some way.
Oh, my God, yes.
She performed the Star Spangled Banner at ahead of Game 7 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers Sunday night. And some people were a little unhappy with her rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. So we thought it would be a good idea to let you listen and be the judge.
And Angela's hearing this for the first time. I've heard it, and I have a strong opinion.
Yes, so we're going to go ahead and just play a little bit of a portion of her performance. And it's buffering.
Oh, no!
Which was not predicted, but hold on. Let's see if I can...
Nice.
There we go.
And the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the brave.
Okay, so I'm going to just share some of the things, some of the criticism, and then I want to hear your take on this, okay? And you all be the judge. One person wrote on social media, well, a bunch, said, this is the worst national anthem I've ever heard. Another one said, they got an opera singer doing the national anthem. I'm done. And then another one said, they should have invited that girl who sang the national anthem in Spanish to sing there. And then someone else said, okay, this national anthem is up there with Fergie. Okay, the look of disgust on your face right now. I mean, and you have a musical background, as do I.
I'm going to channel G and say some folks just don't have good taste. They just don't have good taste. Now, you may like a rock version. You may like a soul version. You may like it plain. Her technique was fire.
Oh, for
Her
sure.
technique was fire. It was beautiful. It was a respectful interpretation. That note, everyone knows that free note. People have done it so many different ways. It was crystal clear and gorgeous. And may I also add that I love Kristen Chenoweth, and in my book, she can do no wrong. But I'm separating my love for her. She just has a beautiful heart and beautiful soul. And to come after her, it's like, guys, you wish you could sing like that.
Yeah, she actually had a good response. She said the price of authenticity is being disliked. And I love it. She kept it classy. But this idea that okay, it may not be for everybody because she has a voice that is very operatic.
Trained, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It is classically trained. Those notes that she hit, I mean, her pitch was great, and the notes that she hit were impossible for most. And it was beautiful. To say that it was anywhere close to Fergie, I mean,
come on.
Please.
Do we need to pull up Fergie? Come on.
No.
This is the thing. Have you ever noticed, I don't know how many of you listening work in customer service, that when things are going well, no one goes online or calls you to complain, right? Or it calls you and lets you know that. But the people, the detractors, they're going to be the loudest voice in the room. I bet 90% of people loved that anthem, and the 10% came and decided to be the loudest folks there. And to your question, agree to disagree, the only limit I think there should be on the anthem is that when you put so much decorating into it that we can't hear the song.
Yes.
And that's for any type of thing. But I love the various interpretations.
I agree, too. Otherwise, it would be so boring.
It's America.
It
is
all
America.
Us. Exactly. No, I think
agree.
she did a beautiful job.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way, and she still enunciated the lyrics. So all of it's done. So, all right. Well, switching gears a little bit here. I'm going to say some words to you.
Okay.
Labubu Jellycat.
Ooh, okay, some of y'all are like, what is that?
I only know Labubu.
Can you tell us what this is?
Yes, so these aren't just silly phrases made up by a little kid. They are actually booming businesses. The newest thing in fashion and fun are these coveted stuffed animals, and they're not just popular with children. They're not a children's toy specifically. They're actually quite popular with adults. And so we're going to start with Labubus because they are these small bunny-like toys. And I'm going to show you guys an image of them just so you can get a little bit of an idea of what they look like. I have them up here on the screen on YouTube. And they're essentially these toys, these dolls, and they've become a form of bag charm.
Okay, I want you to try to describe them because there's only 100 or so people who can see it on. Yes.
What was those other stuffed animals that were really popular for a while?
Like pumpkin
Baby?
You're thinking of maybe the Squishmallow that was popular a few years ago.
They were called something else, but you could always find them in the drugstore.
Yes.
And you put
the
them
Beanie Baby. Yes.
It kind of reminds me of that. It's the new version.
But the thing about this is that they're much more coveted. So they've become really popular over the last year. They're manufactured and sold primarily by Hong Kong by a company called Popmark. And now celebrities like Rihanna, Dua Lipa, Lizzo just talked about it, one of her songs recently, are using it as a form of like bag charm, and they're putting it on their purses and they're dressing them in designer clothes and they're walking out with their designer purses with this keychain, stuffed animal keychain on their purses. And now a lot
It's
of
like
them
a
are
status
reselling
symbol.
for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And they've become a status symbol.
I think we need to bring in a psychologist for this segment.
Okay, stop. Do you think people are off their rocker if they're going for this?
I want to understand. No, I don't think they're off their rocker. I think we need to understand the psychology of everyone rallying around a stuffed animal to dress and put on your purse and walk around. Like, what is it? It feels like we're missing something.
I think it's trying to connect with others and also going back to a much more innocent. Okay, this is my psychology.
You have so much
attempt.
grace. I love this.
This is my attempt at psychology. It was a much simpler time. These are very simple looking dolls.
For hundreds.
For a lot of money. It's a bit of a status symbol, but it's also like a collection. Do you have a collection of anything? Because I right now have a collection. Everyone knows I got the perfume collection. Yeah, so and I could see someone asking me, why do you need so many? I mean, there's a simple joy in all of it for me. It brings joy, and I love to share my collection with others. So I see it as something like that.
Yeah,
I wish they weren't so spendy.
And I do love stuffed animals. There's something about them that feels like a hug and it feels innocent, and maybe that's what people are going for. That's why I said psychologist, because I bet there's something in our psyche that connects with a stuffed animal.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be paying a couple $100 for them.
No, but this is I looked at Beanie Babies. It was Beanie Babies, but they were never, to your point, that expensive that I know of, Sophia. They were like, you can get one for $8.
Status quo. You would never think of a celebrity walking around with a Beanie Baby dressed up in a Chanel outfit, and toting it on their Birkin bag.
You know what happened? You know what happened? It was for the gram.
Well, I loved it. We debuted some video on our YouTube page, so I love that. Sophia, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
She's bringing me into this current century. Okay, we hear you, and our words to live by coming up next.
A KIRO Newsradio exclusive on Seattle's Morning News.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell running for re-election. On the issue of crime, people in Belltown are saying it's the worst they've ever seen it.
I take the feedback, so I don't say you're wrong. But the fact is that the data would sort of refute some of that. Am I satisfied with the progress we've made? Absolutely not. You don't want a mayor that says, oh yeah, everything is safe. So you're going to continue to see a very aggressive approach.
Watch the full interview on the KIRO Newsradio YouTube page or download the KIRO Newsradio app.
Well, this week's First Mark Challenge victory goes to Roger. Roger, why did you call First Mark Insurance?
Over the last several years, my homeowner's insurance policies just kept on going up and up and up. For years, it was $1,100. Last year, it was $2,500, and this year, $5,000. That's what got me to call First Mark Insurance.
Were they able to save you any money?
Absolutely. Within a couple of days, came up with a proposal that blew my socks off. It was an amazing amount of reduction in cost.
Did they improve your coverage while saving you all that money?
They did both. The coverage is better, and the cost is substantially less. It's half as much as I was paying last year. Recommend First Mark to anyone who is looking to get better coverage at less cost.
Well, Roger did it, my family did it, and you got to do it, and it's totally free. Take the First Mark Challenge and see how much they can save you and how much better your coverage will get. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. First Mark Insurance. They work for you.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed mold, mildew, bowing walls, or water in your basement? I hope not, but if you have, your basement is losing the war against groundwater. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to waterproof your basement and stabilize your walls. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit muckleshootcasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. Citizens, since we each upgraded to Xfinity in our homes, the Wi-Fi has been booming. It's fair to say our town has officially become a boomtown.
Mayor, will I be able to drop into multiplayer gaming battles with low lag?
The lag won't be an issue, but your questionable skills may be.
And what if I have hundreds of devices on the Wi-Fi? Purely hypothetical.
Seems like a lot, but sure, hundreds of devices all booming together with the Xfinity Gateway. Yes, friends and neighbors, with Xfinity, the Wi-Fi is booming.
The Wi-Fi isn't the only thing that's booming. Now get the most reliable Wi-Fi and our best-in-class equipment for one consistent price for 5 years guaranteed. All in. Plus, get unlimited data included and no annual contract. All with the 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. New residential customers only. Select plans only. Xfinity Gateway with XFi Complete required for unlimited data except in certain areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024. Actual speeds vary.
Hi, it's John Curley. You know, I've been a patient of Longevity Medical Clinic since 2009, and Longevity Medical Clinic has been helping people live longer, healthier lives for more than 25 years. You know what's amazing, doctor? The feelings that you have after just a couple of months. You sleep better. Your strength and vitality, it is evident that it works. It's really a mindset, though, Dr. Mixon, because a lot of people, well, this is what's supposed to happen.
Let us help you be stronger, faster, leaner, smarter, sexier, but most important, happier. I'm less impressed by how many years I might live, but how much I live during my years. You know, the option is here. Nobody's going to make you go to longevity. But the opportunity is there, and all you have to do is take advantage of it. I don't know why anybody would not want to do what we do.
And that's where Longevity Medical Clinic comes in. So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
Need a new roof now? With State Roofing and Exteriors, you can get started with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. That's right. Protect your home now and pay later. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today.
You know that cartoon of the three-eyed fish swimming in polluted water next to a nuclear power plant?
Yeah, classic.
I used to think that was real, but I just learned that nuclear energy waste isn't some glowing green goo. It's actually used fuel rods from nuclear reactors that made electricity.
Wait, so no barrels of leaking sludge?
No, solid used fuel rods are safely stored at all the nuclear power plants in the U.S., including the one in Richland.
So the cartoon fish isn't real?
Not even close. Learn the facts about nuclear energy and used fuel at energy-northwest.com.
And just like that, we are done with our Wednesday edition of the Gee and Ursula Show. It went by way too fast today.
It did. I had so much fun with you all.
Oh, so much fun. And a lot of you joining us on YouTube, on our text line, and of course, those of you listening either from your car or at home, we sure appreciate you. And Angela, I want you to start with our text messages.
Yeah, we're going to start with the national anthem. And some of you said, who was that anyway? That Kristen Chenoweth was the woman who starred in the original Wicked musical opposite Idina Menzel. So that's who she is. Cliff in Woodinville, the only limitation I think should be on the Star Spangled Banner is that it's done with respect. Riff it up all you want, but don't mock the national anthem. The rendition you just played was beautiful, in my opinion.
Agree. 1,000% Cliff. Gina in Chimicum says they're just jealous because she can sing 3 octaves higher than they can. All that, Angela says, gorgeous and crystal clear. Yes.
Yep. Jack in 253, every time some celebrity is about to sing the anthem, I say to the TV, sing it the way it was written. This isn't about you.
But I think you can put your own personal flavor to it. I mean, as long as you don't botch the words. And like Cliff said, do it with respect.
Yeah, it needs to be recognizable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. On these viral toys, Thomas in the 206 says, I was part of the Beanie Baby craze. I finally just gave them all to my toddler. Although I still won't let him pull off the tags. Those things were supposed to pay for my college. So much for that.
Irene from Tacoma, Beanie Babies for the 21st century? Pretty much.
On the WNBA and the Caitlin Clark effect, Jen in the 206 says, as a parent of a professional women's basketball player, I am over the moon that you smart, talented women are talking up the storm and heading to games. The games are great with Caitlin and without her.
Okay, now, Jen, we want to know who your daughter is because she's the parent of a professional basketball player.
I know.
Jen, you got to text us. Let us know. Okay, 425. It's amazing the attention Clark generates. She is 10 times more valuable than anything else in that league. The ratings, attendance, sales, everything vastly multiplies simply because she's going to be playing. It's awesome to see a generational talent via a female. Hopefully this catches on for players other than Clark and the WNBA can continue to grow.
I think Sophie Cunningham has also become a household name. For different reasons. On prenups, Mary in Queen Anne says, I'm a great believer in prenups for one really great reason. It makes you sit down and discuss your finances. It just makes sense. Everyone is protected.
Carrie and Bonnie Lake, just consider a prenup to be the same as medical power of attorney or other advanced directives like a will. Yeah, interesting way to think about it.
Just approach it. See, now I didn't do this in my own situation, and it's worked out fine, and it's good. But I think you need to look at it as just being practical and take the emotion out of it, which is not always easy. Jason in Buckley says, but my prenup has unlimited golf and bowling in it. My wife gets to take 2 trips a year with her friends. They don't always have to be about serious issues. Well, dang.
I'd never heard that. Okay, why not? Okay, Goodfellas, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't do a prenup. He convinced me it makes you start off with doubting our wonderful lifelong relationship. Not only did he wipe out my resources, he took his daughters out from being power of attorney and will leave his money to his latest affair, not even his second married wife. He's known as a serial liar in the courts, but could even charm a woman judge that he's the victim. Do the prenup.
On cracking down on graffiti taggers, Isabella in 253 says, I think the fine should be $1,000 plus community service. Go clean up your own mess.
At 206, it's vandalism to the public. If we don't take care of the visual, it shows lack of pride in our area.
I agree. And then on funeral home accountability, I want to make sure we mention this because Crystal in Tacoma says, we worked with Mountain View Funeral Home when my 40-week stillborn niece was born. We chose to have her cremated. They were lovely to work with and didn't charge us for anything. My heart breaks for this family. We discussed it in the 10 o'clock hour. I cannot imagine that the pain they felt, but I also wanted to share our experience with Mountain View.
Okay, we have time for one more.
Yeah, I would do that on the scenarios.
Let's on scenarios about, this man lost his wife and now he's dating again. Angel in 206 says, life is short. Love wins every time.
And then Brian said, I like the idea that your partner sends someone your way after they have passed.
It's a beautiful thought.
It is really a beautiful thought.
Speaking of beautiful thoughts, let's do Ursula's words to live by.
And I was inspired about the thought of living out your passions, whether it's, what do we call those toys?
What are they called, Sophia?
What are they? The
Labubu.
Or perfumes or sports, whatever it is. I love this quote from Kristen Hanna. Finding your passion isn't all about careers and money. It is about finding your authentic self, the one you've buried beneath other people's needs.
Ooh.
So true. We need on a daily basis to try to live out our passions.
Good. And make sure we're not burying them because of everything else.
Yes, yes.
Okay, the wisdom.
Angela, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Really, thank you so much. Sophia, fantastic job.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Nick.
Well, word is Bezos has some lavish wedding plans in mind where I'm sure the bill for all commodities won't be too kind, but don't feel bad at all since there's no damage from his fees, though agreements for a prenup might not have that easy breeze.
I stay for a white wedding.
And maybe there's already deals in place for sharing wealth through some purchases of Jellycats and Labubus he dealt. Wait a few more years. She'll be glad she didn't take the cast. They'll probably go up in value, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I love it. I love how he wraps it all up. And if you listen to all 3 hours of the Gee and Ursula Show with Angela today, I hope we gave you lots of stuff that you could talk about at home or with your friends. I hope that we have generated some conversation for you. And we will do this again tomorrow. The Jake and Spike Show is coming up next.
Hope you have as much fun as we have. So long, everybody.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
Seattle is the nation's most male-skewed major city. There's more men in Seattle. They say in the article here, they said the most masculine city, but I absolutely disagree with that.
You've seen the men in this town.
Exactly.
Please. It's not like it's 80-20.
No,
that's when it's hard to meet a lady.
That's true.
When there's 4 guys for every girl. That's when it's here come the bride's time.
The Jake and Spike Show.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
On KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk. A wireless company that actually stands for something.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck. And she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes. But when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number 4th of July sale. Save over $600 on our King P5 smart bed, our lowest price of the season. Plus, get free home delivery with most smart beds, limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately